Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome to FSP episode number 38. We got to have an interesting show today. We're going to have a little bit of a debate here. It's going to be some fun, but I want to say thanks again to everybody who tunes into anything here on Fun Speculation. All of our 3 shows, game streams, whatever we got going on, and it means a lot. But shout out to some of the chat here. Deathlord Strong, RSJ fan, how's it going? It's Tim A. What's up? What's up? What's up? I see Fuzzy hanging out there as well. You know, we're gonna have a debate here because you know, I want to get into it in a little bit, but this involves Call of Duty and the reviews and stuff, and it's gonna be interesting to see because we got differing opinions here for sure. So it's gonna be a fun show with that. Also, we're gonna take a look at, as always, with tidbits on the games releasing this week, which includes Call of Duty and more. But before we get started with the show, I want to say hello to this amazing panel, and we'll start with the one down. I know it's going to get interesting a little bit later. What's up, Jasper? How you doing, man?
Yo, it's going pretty good. I finished Call of Duty, got all the campaign achievements you can get right now. Just got to wait for co-op to drop to finish 100% in the game. So that's what I've been working on and playing Overwatch. So
nice. Which who's your main on Overwatch right now? Is it Diva?
Sojourn and Baptiste.
Ooh, okay. Sojourn's pretty cool because it's like an easy to use character for me. It's just all you got to worry about shooting people and sliding around and stuff.
Yeah.
What's up to 3-bit, dude? I'm glad you're able to be here today. You also got been able to get some more gaming time in lately, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah, rare. I've been playing Plague Tale. I am like on chapter 6. I don't know how many chapters it has, but I'm on chapter 6 of that. And Scorn, I tried playing Scorn. I got past a couple of the puzzles, and I was telling you guys earlier that I was just feeling nauseous. I don't know if it was the game just being disgusting or if it's something weird with the frame rate. It felt very smooth, so I guess it was 60.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth on the frame rate.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think maybe it's all the blood and gooey guts everywhere. Maybe it just isn't sitting well with your stomach.
But great game. I'm liking it so far.
Yeah.
But I had to step away from Scorn for a bit to play Plague Tale, and Plague Tale is gorgeous, dude.
Is that game? Beautiful. That game has a lot of disgusting stuff in it too, doesn't it? All the rats and crap.
That's disgusting. Scorn's like another genre of just disgusting. But yeah, man, I'm enjoying both games. Glad that I finally got to get some gaming in from after work and stuff. So it's been a good week.
Then we have the always fuzzy Belvedere. What's up, dude?
What's up, guys? Just want to make sure my mic is on this time.
It is. You're here.
But man, oh man, it's so good to be here, and been playing a little bit of Modern Warfare as well. Not as far as you guys, but that's only because I keep on hopping between GT7 and Forza Horizon 5 and Division 2. So I'm still playing my usual stuff, but Modern Warfare, for what I've played so far, really enjoying it. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it some more later.
Right on, man. Before we get into some of the other stuff, like I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but I gotta say I love Gotham Knights. I absolutely love Gotham Knights. Now I'm highly disappointed still in the fact that it's not 60 frames, but I ended up biting the bullet. I didn't buy it. Now I made a tweet saying I'm never gonna buy a $70 AAA game that is not 60 frames. I did not lie. I bought it day 2. And also, I didn't pay $70 because I got it. I didn't get it from the Microsoft store. I got it another way. So I didn't lie. And I will say the first night I was streaming it, I was pretty tired too. And I thought I was already, I sat down. I was like, oh shit, I'm tired. And then that frame rate was really bothering me. It's like, oh my God. So I was like, there's some cool stuff here. And I pointed out the things I liked, you know what I mean? But I was like, the frame rate really was bothering me the first day. And but then I played again yesterday on stream, right? And I think I played like 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours. And the more I was playing, like the frame rate issue was kind of melting away for me a little bit because the game was hooking in, So it wasn't as distracting, right? But when I was focusing on like all the stuff that's amazing, like, man, this is a fantastic fucking game. I absolutely love Gotham Knights. Posted a screenshot last night that was pretty cool too, and the photo mode. They got a really cool photo mode on there. But yeah, I gotta say, like, I gotta give props to the game and a lot of things that I feel like I really like about it, like the combat, which was criticized in some of the reviews and stuff. It's not Arkham, it's different, you know, but it is.
Like there's no like
There's no counters. It's all evade.
counter.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's a lot of abilities too. You unlock new abilities and all this kind of stuff. And the combat system is very satisfying. Like,
Have you played multiple characters?
Not yet. I'm maining Robin right now, and I'm just focusing on that. Like, I want to keep upgrading Robin and focusing on that. And I'm gonna switch characters. Maybe I'll do a different playthrough with each character. I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm really into that right now. I'm really into COD, but man, like I gotta say again, the combat is fucking so satisfying. I get in these like big battles and stuff with like 10 guys or whatever, and I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, this is amazing.
I watched a little bit. Have you fought a villain yet, or is it just random goons? Because all I've seen you is fight goons. I haven't seen you fight like a bad guy.
So far I've fought villains. I mean, just the goons, but I know that there are the big villains in the game as well, right? So I've been running around doing like different missions, fighting crime in the city, and there's other aspects I really love about the game too. Like, there's just all this investigation stuff in it, right? Where you're going around and you're investigating crimes and investigating things and having to look around for stuff, and it kind of slows it down and you get more immersed in the story, right? Which also, the story is awesome so far, right? Like, narrative wise, that's one aspect to a game, right? Narrative wise, the story is fucking awesome, and it's really hooking me there too. But you know, I do feel like, with all this being said, like, if it was, I feel like the game could be like a 9, but it's being held back because of the performance. Like, I shouldn't have to like get used to it being 30 frames. You know what I mean? Like, it should just be like ultra smooth. And I feel like once they come out with a patch eventually, hopefully they do, that game is going to really fucking shine, man, because the city is pretty impressive. One of the other feedbacks I've seen from reviewers is that it's not as like graphically as impressive as like Arkham Knight, or, you know,
Which is not, but
yeah, it's not. But for me, I never really anticipated that. For me, it's more about the frame rate makes it feel old, as opposed to like the city. The city is actually really different than Arkham Knight because it's more open, right? It's less like, I feel like the Arkham games are real condensed and real dense with just tons of like everything, and it's like real kind of just like, hey, you go over here, do this, here, do that. But this really feels like you're like a superhero in a big city, right? Which is kind of like that Spider-Man
games
effect.
Are kind of more like Tim Burton-y Gotham, whereas this is more like Christian Bale Gotham.
A little bit. You could say that. Like,
I heard the art style is less gothic. Like, whenever I think about Gotham in a lot of aspects, like I think that it's more Tim Burton-y gothic.
Yeah.
And I've seen like some gameplay of this. It's a little bit like what you're saying, Mav. It's a little bit more spread out and kind of a different style.
Yeah. I feel like I can just stand around and just like mind my own business and do whatever, like, and walk around, and like you can't really do that. And like Batman is just like something every fucking corner all the time, constantly. This is like, you know, that you can kind of go hang out on the rooftops and go around and, you know, look for what you want to do next. And sometimes you may, that'll take me a while to get over there, right? So I still got a lot to play. I still got a lot to go, but I'm really fucking loving that game. I still, no excuse for me for the optimization of it, right? The performance of it, but sometimes you got to play it even regardless. And this is one of those that I feel like I'm glad I didn't wait, because
what's the frame rate for Plague Tale? Because it doesn't feel like 30.
Do you have a 120 hertz monitor? Or TV?
Yeah.
So if you have HDMI 2.1 120 hertz, it's automatically putting it at 40 in a 100. So it's doing some kind of like tricky thing there, but it doesn't give you the option. So if you have like a 60 frames monitor, you don't get that advantage right now. They did say they're working on an update for that, I believe. So,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I have
you
a
get
120
advantage
frames.
of a slight performance mode with that TV.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, like when I was playing it, it felt like it didn't feel like 30. I was afraid it was gonna feel like sluggish, whatever, but it felt kind of like smooth, but it was like a weird smoothness. I didn't know how to
Yeah, it's
describe it.
different. It's like because it's like equal to a third of the refresh rate, they can do it that way or something. I don't
Yeah,
understand it 100%, but
I mean,
how are
up
you
to them. It
liking?
almost feels like 60.
What are you liking most about Plague Tale?
It's such a beautiful game. It's just like it feels like they took what they learned from like Flight Sim and just
Yeah.
applied it on a smaller level of like their environments, like their water, their trees, and stuff
Mhm.
like that. It is very, it's like a linear experience for sure. Like you're supposed to go down like this specific hallway and things like that, but the tech that's in it is super impressive, I would say. Like the rat system is super cool. The lighting is beautiful. The dialogue between the characters is really nice. Like when they're scared, and they're sometimes how their conversations overlap each other is really nice. um like if they're genuinely scared, and just
Mhm.
trying to get through stuff, like the dialogue is very well written. I haven't played the first game, so I feel like there's a lot I'm missing in
Yeah.
the story.
You
Like
should
I
watch a
feel like,
YouTube like
Recap.
video recap. You know, I'm gonna do that before I start Plague Tale Requiem because I didn't finish the first game. I don't even know if it's still in Game Pass. I think it
No,
left.
they took
Yeah,
it
Yeah,
they
out
pulled
like
it.
last month or something.
right. So I
mm,
don't want to go buy it to finish like the last like few hours. So I feel like for me, I would rather just watch the YouTube recap. You know, but I based on what I've played of the first game, yeah, I would imagine you're gonna be missing a lot picking up the sequel without knowing the story.
I'm
You
like,
know.
what the heck is going on? But it's like I'm putting some pieces together. Like I'm all the way on chapter 6, so I feel like I'm getting closer to the end. I don't know how many chapters there are, but yeah, I'm really liking it. I think the relationship between like you and this other kid and then your brother and stuff is really cool. um yeah, it has like a triple A feeling, but like a indie budget sort of level design at the same time. Like it's weird. Like the visuals are triple A for sure, but it also has like this small team vibe to it at the same
Mhm.
time. So yeah, I'm really liking it.
Right on, man. And so what is your like newest game you've been like playing the most, Fuzzy?
Oh, for me,
Yeah.
the game I've been playing the most, I've been playing GT7 the most, and Division 2 because they had the apparel event
Yeah.
recently. So I had to get all 27 pieces and just finish that up earlier today. But I would say outside of those, I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty, which I'm about 2 or 3 hours in. Still pretty early on, but enjoying what I played so far. Um, I need to finally get what do you call them, insurgency set up on my PC for the what was it? Yeah, ISMC mods that they have for PC, where you can add a lot more weapon skins and modern day weapons and tactical gear and things like that. So at some point, I want to get that set up on PC. I've been kind of eyeing uh, Gotham Knights, but I I'm still at that crossroad where I'm debating if I should just go ahead and pick it up on PC and enjoy it that way, or just wait, because my original intention was to wait until the 4-player co-op, but I got to see what a lot of you guys are going to pick it up on, if it's going to be on Xbox or if it's going to be on PC or something, before I commit to it, type of deal. But outside of that, I have Scorn installed, haven't touched it yet, so I'm kind of lagging behind, and I gotta double check to see if I have Plague's Tale downloaded as well. But Forza Horizon just did a 10-year anniversary, so I'm back into Horizon almost daily as well, trying to complete the seasons to get some of the cars I may have missed when I took a little bit of a break from it and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 5 now with them having like some of the stuff from like the earlier games, whether it be some of the scenery stuff or if it's the some of the music or some of the cars that they've had from previous games. All of that is just awesome having that as like a free update or a seasonal update type of thing. Ultimately, I would have preferred if they like did an up-res on the original maps, but you know, you can't have everything you want type of deal. But you know, having them where they have some of the scenery stuff. So if you want to make your own track to look like Surf City from Horizon 3, where it was like a lot of the taller buildings in downtown, I guess Sydney, Australia area type of thing. I guess that would be the workaround or the the next best thing. But those are the main things I'm playing now. I still have yet to connect my Steam Deck to the what do you call them, the hub, because I picked that up the other day, and I gotta get either a second keyboard or I'm gonna put the keyboard that's on my PC currently to that hub and then do a wireless on my main PC type of thing. But that can wait until later on this month or early next month before I even worry about that. But that's where I'm at with gaming so far.
Right on, man. Wow. So we're gonna get into some other stuff later, but first I want to talk about this tease today that happened from Aaron Greenberg on Twitter, because this is some really exciting news.
I will say that thing that he put out is the same description that they have on their live stream. So he didn't necessarily say that himself. That's just their current marketing they have on their description of the video.
So which, regardless of that, still tells me the same thing. It actually reinforces it even more. Because Aaron Greenberg had tweeted out today that description, which says, "Be sure to check out the special Age of Empires 25th anniversary broadcast planned for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'd recommend everyone," an asterisk, I'm guessing that excludes PlayStation players, is why that's an asterisk, "who likes Age, no matter where you prefer to play. Tune in." So that tells me one thing: the long rumored, long waited for, alluded to by the developers themselves, but never officially announced, no release date officially announced. Just only thing official we've ever had for them is them saying in an interview they're going to figure it out. They're going to start to work on figuring it out. But now this is the 25th anniversary, and it seems like finally Age of Empires may get announced for consoles coming soon, hopefully, but the announcement may happen tomorrow. And I know Pong and I are going to talk about this on Thursday a lot because we're like big time,
well, depending on
RTS
the news,
fans, depending on the news for sure. But this is a big win for, I think, console gamers as well. And I'm just going to assume this is happening. There's no reason not to, because of all the rumors that have been. Jez Corden has said this is happening as well. He even mentioned he asked about it at Gamescom, and they had told him that like it was taking longer than they thought or whatever. So, but based on this tease, like this is gonna happen tomorrow, guys. So I'm super fucking pumped for that. And if you're an RTS fan and you like playing RTS games on console, if you just like Age of Empires and you have a shitty PC or you don't really have a PC to play it, this is one of the best RTS games out there, point blank, and you're gonna be able to get access on a fucking Xbox soon. So that is pretty damn awesome if you ask me. So anybody here else excited about this as I am? I know that 3-Bits got this crazy ass PC and doesn't mind playing PC games. Jasper's got a crazy ass PC, doesn't mind playing PC games. Fuzzy has got a crazy ass PC, doesn't mind playing PC games. So I feel like I'm talking to the wrong crowd with you guys here. But are any of you three like wanting to check it out on Xbox, or would you rather just play it on PC?
I would check it out on Xbox. I feel like playing on console is just more comfortable. I don't know, like it's just a thing. Like whereas I play mouse and keyboard, I feel like I got to like sit up closer and shit. Whereas like console, I can kind of So like I wouldn't mind checking it out on Xbox for sure. And I love Age. I've played Age since I was like 3. So
yeah, right on. I feel like I've always enjoyed playing on console more, and even like the RTS games that came out on like 360 back in the day. Even before then, there was RTS games. In fact, Age of Empires 2 released on the PS2. For those I didn't know, it's
There's also a DS version.
yeah, it's crazy. People act like it can't happen. They can't figure out RTS control. What the hell are you smoking? They've been doing RTS games on console
My
for
first
decades.
RTS game was Age of Empires on the DS.
I'm sorry.
Wow, was it really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my first RTS game on the Nintendo DS. It was an Age of Empires game, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome!" So, I mean, that was my first experience with
Right.
Age of Empires. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for it to come to console. I have the same mindset as Jasper, where I just think it's more comfortable. Like I like playing on my couch and just like sitting down and just enjoying a game. Rather than my computer. I mean, that's pretty much like I have a very powerful PC rig and everything, and but I hate sitting up for this long at my chair. So that's mostly why I like playing on console. So I'm looking forward to trying it and seeing how they adapted the controls from PC to console. There's a lot of RTS games I feel like can jump over to console. They just they have to put some more thought into how they're gonna translate that to console. So I'm actually looking forward to more so seeing how they do that.
It's definitely gonna be interesting because Age of Empires has a lot of micromanagement, and that usually isn't as easy to do on a console. Like Halo Wars, all your units were in a squad, so you didn't have to micromanage individual units. Whereas this, you have to actually control an individual worker at times. So
yeah, there's lots of other like RTS games have been on console that have done that before. Like Lord of the Rings: Battle for Middle Earth 2 was one of my favorite RTS games of all time. It had a lot of that, like on the 360. It was absolutely awesome, and you could do that. Some of the Command and Conquer games kind of worked that way as well, and they had Supreme Commander as well, was really good on console back on the 360. So there's definitely lots of examples, like from playing Age and even on PC. This one, there's nothing that I haven't seen done before on console, right? It's just depends on how they implement it. If they use the radial wheel, or if they use like a D-pad, like where you hit over and over and over and over and over. That's the different things. But what I would ask is if they have an option, right, to be able to play console versus console player only. Because if you're playing a multiplayer match on RTS against a PC player, that is, we have different. I think shooters for the most part is not as huge of a thing. It does have some advantage, especially in really skilled players and stuff.
But give people the option to play your keyboard and mouse on Xbox. I know some games.
I wonder if they will. I bet they will with this. But like, if you're maybe an input option like controller versus controller, because like RTS games on controller,
there's no get outclassed.
There's no way to move as fast as you can on a PC with the amount of inputs and stuff you can make, like with keyboard shortcuts and all that kind of stuff. But are you looking forward to giving this a go, Fuzzy, or is this something you're already playing?
I would try it on console over PC. My PC is mainly for like modded games. So like if there's some crazy mods for like Starfield down the road, which I'm pretty sure there will be, I'll eventually move from console over to PC for the mods. Same thing with Grand Theft Auto. That's what I mainly play on my PC. Same thing with Insurgency. I'll do the modded stuff on there, but anything else, I'd rather play on console in front of the TV instead of the monitor type of deal. Just that's my preferred, more relaxed, I guess, entertainment form. But my PC is just for modding games or modded games and things like that. With Age of Empires, I'm hoping they have a pretty decent, either radial wheel or, like you said, a D-pad setup for the controller. I mean, if they really want to, push things, then go ahead and make it where there's also keyboard and mouse support for it, which they probably should have, tried that from get-go to see how many people would at least give it a try type of thing. But I'll definitely give it a try on console.
Right on. I wonder if which version of this game would be too, because at 25th anniversary, I would assume there may be some other announcements as well.
Well, yeah, they
coming for
said
this.
that they're. I think that's when the 2 new empires come out. Is
Right. So
for that.
this
So
is
I was assuming we
gonna
get that edition.
right. It's gonna come probably like a maybe like a game of the year edition type thing, or like whatever they want to call it. Right. RTS of the year, whatever the fuck. I don't know. But you know, it's been about a year since release, right? A year and a half.
Yeah,
almost.
I think it came out last September.
It was September.
Like
So
that.
yeah, so a year and 2 months, something like that. So and we don't know when this is going to come. So that's the other thing. We were talking about this in DMs earlier. And is this going to be like potentially a shadow drop situation or like a near release? Or is it going to be something that they're announcing for next year? Based on the fact that the game's already been out for so long, I wouldn't imagine they're going to announce coming next fall or anything like that, right? That would be like too far away. I would think it would have to be something like sooner than later. And I forget who it was, but I think maybe it was 3-bit said maybe like November.
Yeah, I think I just said mid-November. I don't know. That was just like
yeah, I think
the
that
guess,
works
yeah.
because if you drop it, let's say tomorrow, like I think Call of Duty is obviously going to take some of that attention away. So I think maybe late November after you've put out Halo, so you don't conflict with a lot of your own IPs. Because Halo's going to get a big update early November, so put it out late November. I think that would make sense. But
yeah, it'd be interesting because I think you know, the weak year for Xbox first party as far as console owners like has been this holiday season. It hasn't seemed as bad because we still got Pentiment coming as well, which who knows exactly like how that's going to be accepted or not, like, or I mean review or whatever, and what the perception is going to be on that game when it releases. But that's still coming. We still got High on Life coming as well. It's not first party, but it's Game Pass day one. And then we still have potentially Age of Empires coming, which even though this game's been out, you know, for console players that haven't had a chance to play it at all, because it feels like a new game, right? And also should be a pretty polished and big experience with all the extra content that's come over the last year, right?
I guess they could put it out. I don't know when their new season starts, so that would just be something to look up because I know they do a lot of season stuff, kind of like every other game. So
it would make sense to launch it at the start of a new season, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like 2 days left of an old season or 3 days. You know, it wouldn't make sense. But I'm freaking pumped about this, dude. Like, I forget now. You can play Age because I haven't played it online with friends. You can play co-op versus the computer. I think.
Yeah, you can play.
Right.
You can play 7 friends versus 1 AI if you wanted.
That's my favorite way to fucking play like these RTS games is like 2 versus 2 versus the PC.
Like, I don't know. It should always be kind of a default. It was always weird to me that Age of Empires wasn't on the Xbox anyway. So it's gonna be cool that they finally decided to bring it over because it's like they've been prioritizing the PC for certain games. Like I think Gears Tactics and then Age of Empires.
But Gears Tactics is a weird one too, man. Like there's no excuse for that game not to have been on console.
I think the Age of Empires thing, I think it's just like a kind of an old PC mentality where it's like if you want to play an RTS, you play on PC.
Yeah,
like,
move past that mentality because you're gonna cultivate a new audience if you keep releasing them consistently. Like give console players that just love RTS games are all of a sudden gonna stop playing on console and only buy a PC. But if you have everything else that a console has, plus also, hey, you can also still play RTS games. They're more likely they may buy an Xbox, right? Or also, you may get people to try it that have Game Pass that like never played an RTS before.
It's like all of a sudden, wow, this is great. Different JRPGs.
Yeah,
like,
nobody plays them on Xbox. Why bring
no
them?
one plays on Xbox. Well, they're not available. So when they are available, like don't be surprised if like some people get it, some people don't.
A lot of people are playing Persona right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Persona right now, for sure.
Yeah,
you know, and that's an old game.
That'll be the next game I try after Plague Tale and Scorn is probably Persona because I've been hearing about that game for many years. But if you don't have the game available on your platform, like you know, it's like people haven't been able to access a lot of these games.
Or maybe people bought PlayStations because if they like JRPGs because that's where JRPGs were. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, hey, now this also has a JRPG, so you can also not have to make that tough decision, right? So it's like the more variety, the more genres, the more things for everybody, I think the better. You know what I mean? I know Psycho is crazy head over heels for Persona. I played it on PlayStation 4. I didn't beat it. Like I don't do a lot of games, but I do like the game. I think it's really good. It has its parts that I'm not as in love with, right? That I
I
kind
know
of
nothing about it,
yeah.
so I'm excited.
Well, I'll like I don't want to give spoilers because there's a lot of Xbox players that are getting it for the first time. But it has a very interesting story starting out. You're
Is it like
you're taking on an enemy that
relationship?
has very weird, very bad interest. I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. You
I
kind
mean,
of
it's a Japanese game.
yeah.
I know kind of
That
what to expect.
their overall concept is like of Persona, like you basically like go into like you try and change like a enemy person's heart, right? Is basically what it is, right? You try and like something that's like somebody that does some really shit that's really fucked up. You're basically trying to change them inside, right? In a way. So you're like fighting their demons and fighting these like visions in their heads of like the reality that they live and stuff and how they
Did
see
you try
things.
give him a hug at the start?
And no. But overall, that's kind of like the concept. It's like obviously a lot more deep than that and a lot of intricacies with this. But like, you're basically like, you find somebody who's doing something fucked up. Nobody will listen to you. Nobody believes you. So you have to take it into your own hands with your friends, and you go on a mission to try and like fix this situation, right? But there's a lot of other. There's a lot of cool
like relationships and stuff.
it does.
Like
It
that.
has relationship stuff.
Oh,
It
it
has,
does?
yeah, it has it's a turn-based combat system, a typical JRPG, right? Um, and so the battle system is absolutely awesome, especially if you're like a JRPG stan or from back in the day and you really love like turn-based combat. That's like absolutely exceptional. Then you have your personas, you know, that are like the when you are in the world, like you take on a persona and it's almost like you become like a superhero version of yourself or whatever, and you like you have your I guess little creatures and stuff that fight with you and stuff too. It's like there's all these different things, man. It's like it's really interesting. It's really cool stuff. So I really think it's like that series is pretty special. There's certain things about it that I don't like the whole walking around and socializing so damn much, like kind of bogs down certain games for me in those genres, right? But that's also what some people love the most as well. So that's just a personal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well. Like, I kind of know what to expect. Like, I didn't know what the plot it was or anything
It's
like that.
some
I knew it
anime
was
shit,
first.
so just
I mean, I love anime. You know, I love anime. So,
Yeah.
like Yakuza is one of my favorite JR. Well, no, it's not JRPG per se. Well, I would say the newer one, kind of is, but Yakuza is my favorite Japanese titles. I would say.
Yeah.
And then Dynasty. I like Dynasty Warriors. I know, but I love those games. And then yeah. I'm trying to think of another Japanese game that I really like, but I've always wanted to try Persona.
You love Final Fantasy 15.
I did. Yeah, people hated that one.
I hate it. It's not Final Fantasy.
That was one of my first ones too. So if you played the other Final Fantasy games and then you play that one and you have expectation of the story, the lore, I don't really know.
It's not necessarily a story thing. It's about like the style of the gameplay and like what kind of game it is overall, right? Like it's just
it's very much like hit and you can like do team attacks and stuff like that, but it's very like kind of slashery. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like you're pretty much doing things on the go as opposed to when you're waiting there, like dun, 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 and everyone's sort of standing there.
But
and
see,
you pick your
even then, like Final Fantasy had like transitioned from being like just a turn-based game to where they've had a lot of action. They started that with 12. Final Fantasy 12 is the kind of the first one that had that like is more of like action based, and then you had 13 was like that, and then you had You have Final Fantasy 11 and 14, but those are online MMOs. And then the 15 was like the most just pure action like game.
Is that the one where you drive around in a car?
Yeah, it's like you got your Stand By Me bros driving around, you know.
That's the only one that interested me, and I thought about jumping into it, and I never did.
Yeah, that was the only one I read. And I don't know if it's because of, I don't know why that always interests me. Like my history of Final Fantasy was always like, I love the movies. Like there was the Advent Children movie.
Yeah,
there was.
That was really bad, but yeah.
Was that the one?
I didn't know that Final Fantasy movies.
Was that the one that basically had nothing to do with Final Fantasy? It was like this CGI movie.
It was weird, man.
Where it had like she stepped on a puddle and it was like all these.
I just remember seeing it like when it came out at the theater. If I'm thinking of the right one, but like
there was like 2 movies.
When I saw it at the theater, I was like, "This is Final Fantasy? Like what? Like what? Like okay, I guess so." You know.
Yeah, that was my experience. It was 2 movies that came out, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Final Fantasy is about spirits and whatnot." And then like apparently, like I heard like years later, like the movies are nowhere near close to the story of like a lot of the games. And then I played like maybe a snippet of 7 SNES version maybe, and then jumping straight to 15. So I don't know much about Final Fantasy. I just hear inklings of it. Like I know about them in like Kingdom Hearts, right? I played that crap out of Kingdom Hearts, so some of them are in that. But 15 was like the first one I basically decided to sit down, play for many hours, and maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I wanted to try 7, but hey, where is it? Where is it on Xbox?
You know? Yeah. You have a PlayStation?
That's a paperweight.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is really good, actually. Like, and it's a good blend with the combat for me. It kind of meets both ways in a way. So I dig that. I like the game a lot, but it was weird how they segmented the story of Final Fantasy VII into like such blown out sections of like what was a small section of the original game. Kind of like changes it in its
like
essence.
Part 1, right? Part 1 that is
they're doing 3 parts with the remake.
Yeah,
3 parts. Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, so the next one is also going to be PlayStation exclusive. So I don't like Final Fantasy, and that whole thing is just kind of weird, and that's why that's one of the main franchises that really bugs me whenever Sony's complaining to the CMA talking about like affecting console choice, or Call of Duty might affect console. Final Fantasy is like one of the biggest fucking names in RPGs, right? Period. Right. So even though it's more of a niche than I guess I would say a shooter is, there was a time when like the most anticipated games that came out were Final Fantasy games, like for several years, right? Final Fantasy after Final Fantasy 7, like Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10 were all announced. It was like, what's going on? This is amazing. We're gonna get a new Final Fantasy finally, yeah. And it was like people talked about it for years. Remember how much hype there was for 15? Like they had pushed that game back for so long. There's like at first it's like Final Fantasy Versus, and then Final Fantasy, like it just kept changing. Eventually they were like Final Fantasy 15, right? And then they had the reveal. But after 15, it kind of feels like the franchise is like taking a step back. Yeah, a little bit.
Because they realized they've counted up to 15 and they're like, holy shit, we made too many of these.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
Imagine that Halo 32. Like that's just a lot of games.
Yeah.
Like, and then they have like Final Fantasy. This is speaking from a person who I kind of know about Final Fantasy, but it's just like I just jumped in and out. They have like Final Fantasy 13 or like 2. 10-2.
Yeah,
right?
10-2, like, and then they have a 13-2. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
But I like 10 a lot. I didn't like 13.
And then they have a lot of spin-offs. They have like they had some
Final Fantasy 7 Crisis Core.
Yeah.
They have this stuff. A lot of those games that are spin-offs were because like they made versions for like handheld devices and stuff that.
Was it basically the 7, but
There was 7,
Like,
8, 9,
or-
10, 10, 2, and then there was like the Crisis Core is like a prequel to 7, I think. That came out.
Yeah,
of
it's a
handhelds.
different story.
Yeah.
So 10 and like 10-2, they are continuations of the story from 10, or
Yes.
is it like
Yeah, but you play as a different main character in 10-2 than you do as in 10.
Okay, got it. And like Kingdom Hearts also, like once I played all the Kingdom Hearts games, I realized how crazy and convoluted the story is. So I'm used to
That's
it.
why I've never played Final Fantasy, because like I didn't play them when I was a kid, and like if I jump in now, I got 15 fucking games to like look over the history of it to understand. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's if it's anything like Kingdom Hearts, then like you need a book, you need a guide, you need as much help as you can get trying to understand that story. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Is it like American Horror Story where the stories are separate, or is it actually continuous? Like from if I play Final Fantasy 1 through 15, there's an actual like storyline that over arcs.
I think
Or is
there's
it like
different
Final-
characters in different games, so
Well, I know that, but is it like does it somewhat connect like the universe, or is it just completely separate? Like Final Fantasy 7 and 15, they might as well be completely different timelines and like different games and stuff. Like, does anybody know?
For which
I have
game?
no
Played
Sorry,
Final Fantasy
I was-
enough to.
I was interacting with the chat.
Maybe
So
people in the
it's
chat.
it's not a direct continuation. If that's what all the games have different stories, different characters.
but they all take place in the same universe, right?
I believe so.
So I mean, yeah, I guess so. But like, there's some that are like in the futuristic times. Some of them like fantasy.
Okay.
You know, so like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 7, you're like on like a it's
Sounds like
real
Steam.
like
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's like Pokemon, how like the latest Pokemon game was like 1,000 years ago, like, and then the new
Yeah.
Pokemon game is like in today's time.
like 16. Final Fantasy 16 is more like medieval, right? But then you had like Final Fantasy 15 and like also Final Fantasy 13 were more like
Yeah, the new one's
more
medieval. So does that mean
technically
7
advanced.
is like the future?
Yes.
Final Fantasy 7 is
Yeah.
technically the
Mhm.
future or something? Because
Yeah.
that has like steampunk and
I
like
feel like we
cars.
should be writing this down.
Yeah, it's not
Right
There
like
will be a test at the end of this episode. No.
like
I
there's
was
like
wondered.
sometimes there's like cameo things that they do for fans, you know, like Final Fantasy Tactics, you could get Cloud from 7, but you have to do a lot of stuff to get that, you know what I mean? Final Fantasy Tactics was also like a medieval fantasy world type, you know, but it's like I think it's just completely different stories. I don't know if it's the same universe or whatever, but like I don't even know if there's technically like a Final Fantasy universe. You know what I mean? It's not like the MCU. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like think of it like okay,
no
just different.
Infinity storyline.
Yeah, like exactly. But in each franchise, each game like almost stands like that's why there's like 3 Final Fantasy 13s and like 2 Final Fantasy 10s. Like they tell their own story within that. You know, it's interesting how they do it. But I fucking love Final Fantasy. I just kind of love the more traditional Final Fantasy more than I like some of the stuff. But I'm wondering what they're gonna do with 16. I'm kind of intrigued by it. So I'll be picking that up regardless of where it's at.
I would love a ODST 2 or Halo 2 or something.
Halo 2
Halo 2
Halo 2.
If they made a ODS,
Same like art style and everything, that'd be kind of cool.
yeah, I think they could end up doing another ODST thing.
Yeah.
Because Staten
Yeah,
was kind of
that's-
like asking questions and teasing that kind of stuff. You know,
Yeah, I always said they're gonna make a new Halo. I just don't, and I said it might be like an ODST like game, so that would be great. Because like if you have like your main Halo games, and then like Halos is one of those universes where they need to make more games for. Like it needs to be like the Star Wars of games, in my opinion. They need a third person game. They need like a side game like ODST. Then they have your main franchise like Infinite. Like it needs to be one of those things, in my opinion. Like it's such a great universe full of richness and amazingness. It feels like almost a disservice leaving it as a first person shooter. And I've always said this because, like, yeah, and this is saying it as a person who loves Halo, and I love Halo. I love the franchise. I love it being first person, but it's almost doing it disservice to leave it just in almost.
And you don't even. I would say you also don't even have to make it like about Spartans. You could go 1,000 years ago and have the Prometheans and the Forerunners fighting. Like you could do a game all about that.
You know,
Yeah,
they've dabbled in other genres. They have the Halo Wars games, and then they have
Halo Wars,
then they have the Spartan Assaults or whatever, Spartan Strike and stuff. But I feel like they really could go further with that, you know, as well, and keep the mainline first person shooter stuff. You know what I mean? But like, besides that, I feel like there's even room for other takes on the first person shooters within Halo. You know what I mean? If you could have like a horror game, a straight up horror game, you know,
this with the flood or something, like do some Marines. Like
have it
takes place during the first Halo when you first encounter the flood.
Yeah, have it develop that. You know,
that would be sick.
Right? Imagine on a like space station or some shit, right? Somewhere, and you're like an ODST that's or somebody from Oni trying to research it, and you're in there, and like all of a sudden like flood everywhere, and I mean you can make a badass like almost Dead Spacey type horror game from that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I'm saying though. Like they could go in a bunch of different genres, and yeah, I mean I know they're working on some other Halo game. I just like. Halo has so much potential in a lot of different genres as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, we got to talk about some other stuff, and I knew we were gonna get here eventually. I want to open this conversation more to. First off, we're gonna talk about Call of Duty, and then we're gonna talk about what makes a review a review. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's fair enough because we have very differing opinions here on Call of Duty. Now, to be fair, I'm like 1 or 2 missions left, I think. Jasper, you know the mission I'm on. Is that like 1 or 2 missions left, or?
Yeah, I think you're on mission 13 out of or 15 out of 17, something like that. So you got like 1 or 2 missions left.
Okay. So I played a lot of the game, and I have a fair like assessment of what it is, right? For me, this is like the best story, the best paced, the best like graphics, gunplay, gameplay, all together. Immersed, like I'm fully immersed the whole time. I'm just like, it's super engaging. Like I just gotta know what happens next. Also easier to follow the story as well, right? Best acted. I mean, there's so many different things. Like for me, it's like for me, it's the best Call of Duty campaign.
See,
and I don't know, man. Like for me, it's like checks all these boxes. Like, and it goes more than just story. It goes into graphics. It goes into gameplay. It goes into the variety that they're throwing at you with the gameplay, the story elements and how they tie it into the actual action, and everything is like just perfect. So perfect.
The campaign does nothing great. It does stuff okay, but nothing great. The positives
compared to what?
Hold on. I'll get you there. The positives for this game are obviously the visuals and the quality. I think it has a high quality. Its visuals are probably the best visuals.
What would you give it for visuals and audio and for quality of like?
10 out of 10 visuals, 10 out of 10 like fill the game, whatever.
Right.
But for me, the game, I feel like whoever designed this game, they went into a room and was like, pick the 10 best levels out of every Call of Duty game that we've made. And they just went in and picked levels and then recreated those, but they didn't do it on par as what they did in the previous games. For example, there's a level that's shown in the campaign trailer that was revealed back in June where you storm the boat. That's obviously a callback to the original Modern Warfare where you storm the boat. But that level
it's so amazing. It's so good.
It's not as good as the original because they had to like combine that level with another level when you're on another vessel. I'll say that, not to give away spoilers, but you're on another vessel at the start of that level where they combine that into two, like they combine 2 levels into one, and it just doesn't have like a cohesiveness. So what they end up doing is they jump around to many levels that they've already done in Call of Duty So the story suffers because there's no. They just told the writers, make these levels fit into a story, and that's kind of where they left off. It's like, why are we doing this? They jump around too much.
See,
like, they
I fucking thought that level was amazing. Like, I love that
the
level.
level's
like,
good, but it's not as good as the previous level in Call of Duty 4 where you stormed the boat,
I disagree,
because that had more of a focus. This is
so
just
what you're saying is basically if you've played the previous ones and you have that in front of your mind, it kind of takes away from the overall game. But if you're going into this clean,
yeah, if you're a new person to Call of Duty, I think this game is probably amazing for you.
okay.
But
I've played every Call of Duty there is, Jasper.
I just feel like there was no clear focus with this. They just broke it up too much. Whereas the previous ones, it's like, we're making this fresh level, clear focus in mind, clear decision of what we want this level to be. And this is like, let's copy that, but don't dive as much into it as we can, because we got to finish this game.
And what say you, Matt? I'm just the audience. I'm looking. I'm hearing this conversation.
So
what say you, Matt?
I feel like the levels that they've chose to go with follow a line perfectly with the story that they wrote, and it creates this immersive 100% well-paced experience where I am completely engaged with what's happening and following that story along all the way through, and I feel like I'm taking a part in the action that is actually having the consequences of the grander story. And the way they're presenting the characters and the storytelling is way better than any of the other Call of Duties for me, because it's a lot easier to follow and it keeps you immersed and engaged in that. And I would say it, story narrative wise, it's playing out more like a great Clancy movie, right? And I feel like I'm playing the set pieces within that movie itself, and I'm judging this game as its own game, right? And when I go into each level, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. Wow, that was crazy. Wow, that was awesome. Like the AC-130 mission was fucking great.
Yeah, they've done that before, and it was better than the old one.
It was better. Yeah, it was better than the old one. I think that the ghillie suit mission was amazing.
They've done that before, and it was better than.
It was better than the old one, right? So, but it is a remake, right? So they are taking inspiration from the past games, right? And I'm completely okay with that, because they're doing it in a way that I didn't play the first time. Like, it's like an homage to Modern Warfare, and it's like, for me, I'm going through this, man. This is everything I've always loved about Modern Warfare, right in front of my fucking face and blown out times 10, because it's like done in such a good way, and the way the story's told around it is way better than it's ever been told around Call of Duty before.
I think the story is actually pretty weak in this game. I think that there's a lot of plot points that make zero sense at all.
Well, for sure. Like, it's not realistic. Call of Duty is not realistic, period. We even talked about one of those situations, but we're like, that wouldn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it's still ridiculous in the first place.
There's stuff like that that's, I think, scattered throughout this. And this is a continuation of obviously 2019's Modern Warfare. And I feel like there's not enough callbacks, or like, it feels like a separate story when this should be more of a sequel to that game, when this is just like, forget everything we did in the first one, just fucking make a new story with these same characters. I don't feel like it's connected as much as it should be as the past Modern Warfare.
A lot of sequels tell new stories using the same characters, right? Like, and they in this story, for me,
yeah, but if you look at the OG Modern Warfare, like, each game, like, it continued off where it left off, so you had a trilogy at the end of the day. It doesn't feel like it's connected.
I feel like it's connected because of Farah and connecting.
She's in one mission and she has 5 lines.
Yeah, but but they also know each other. They play to the history together and all of this kind of stuff, right? And more than just with her, but like, there's a history with the team, right? And all of this stuff, and that's like, for me, it's like this team on another experience, right? Like, and that's what, you can pick like a lot of different sequels to a lot of things, and it's like, these teams that we grew to know and love now are off to save the world again in a different way. You know what I mean? That's what like Bond movies are. You know what I mean?
But see, when I think Modern Warfare, I don't think that it needs to be a continuation story, because it creates like a dramatic growth. Like, if you look at the original ones, the first Modern Warfare, it was kind of like lower key stuff, like just random like military situations. But by the time you got to the third one, it was World War III. There was like nukes hitting New York and shit. Like, to get to that buildup, I just don't feel like it fits like this game. It just doesn't flow enough to where we get to that build up.
Well, there's also supposed story content coming next year, right? Potentially. Yeah. And there's also what I think eventually will be a Modern Warfare 3, right? So for me, it's like too early to tell how that build-up's going to work out because they would have to connect those plot points later on, you know. But like for right now,
that's where I'm like, I don't feel like they connected it enough in this game to the first game to carry that on as good as it could be.
Yeah, for me, the first game was more about Farah's story and the things going on over there.
And she's absent from this game?
No, she's not. She's in the game.
She's in the one mission that's probably the worst mission in the game.
But why is she there? Because they're still making her an important focus of like the future they bigger thing.
Content.
Right? No, they didn't.
I would say that mission, and there's another mission later on, specifically the Farah mission, and there's another mission specifically later on that's only designed to test features related to DMZ and Warzone.
What?
For those that know, like there's a mission where you're by yourself trying to survive. I'll just say that. And that mission is specifically designed to test features related to multiplayer content.
No, okay, man. Here we go. All right. So for me, that was just another variety of experience because I finished that level, right? And when I was playing that level, I was like, wow, this is different for COD and a COD story. It was different because this level has a lot of stealth elements to it and stuff like that, and different aspects that I'm not used to playing in a COD game. So for me, it was refreshing, right? And I felt like
refreshing when you introduced that at mission 15 out of 17. Like, why are we introducing this new mechanic?
To keep it fresh, man. Like all of a sudden, like, why, like okay, so if you're like level 5 and all of a sudden you're a pilot of an AC-130 dropping bombs on people, right? Like, why do it level 5? Like, I don't know, just because that's when it fit in the narrative of the game. Like, it fit within the story of the experience of where they were at the time.
If I were to take both of your points, so Jasper's worries is that it feels more like
it's not Modern Warfare 2, the original, is basically
like it's more of like a greatest hits collection.
Yes, a greatest hits collection.
Greatest hits collection of like the
previous highlighted levels.
Yes. Previous highlighted levels, and you felt like they did it better in the past. Yeah. And because they chose to do a greatest hits collection,
it's not cohesive. The story
is not as cohesive. Yeah. Mav's point is that he's treating it as its own thing, and that basically what he's experienced is that he likes the greatest hits collection because like
it doesn't for me it doesn't feel like a greatest hits collection.
Really? 90% of the levels are remade from old shit.
But it's a remake game. But it doesn't. But I feel like all the levels, for me, the reason I'm saying it doesn't feel like that is because they each made sense for the narrative and where the story was at the time. And you just got to play.
I don't think that narrative made sense at all.
Oh man, it was so good.
There's people that are in one location on the planet. The next mission, they're completely across the globe, and we have no travel. Like, show them jumping on a plane, something. But no, they just appear here, and it's like, oh, okay.
Obviously, you would assume they took a plane
these days.
Obviously, we would assume they actually flew and not just teleported.
It's like 2 hours later. You didn't just cross the globe in 2 hours.
We don't know exactly how much time passed. You're talking about your gameplay time, story narrative time, like things change from night and day and stuff like that. It's like watching a movie and thinking it only took place in 2 hours. You know, and like the story takes place like 28 days later. Did it take place in 28 days or take place in 2 hours?
Oh, that happened. Twilight. I know a lot of people don't like Twilight. I don't really like a lot of Twilight. But in Twilight 2, she lives in, was it New Jersey or something? I don't know. Just like a small town. Like I'm just gonna guess it's New Jersey. And then she's trying to save Edward, and then like they're in France. Like she drives to France. I'm like, did you fly?
I will say that like I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to give spoilers.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to know, like I could tell you certain plot points that make zero fucking sense, but I'm just like obviously not saying that because of spoilers. But.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that are unrealistic, but it's a video game. Call of Duty is always unrealistic. You know what I mean? So when I take about like that level aspects, I feel like I'm playing an action game with like an over the top. Like I could watch like any action movie and pick it apart too. Like that doesn't fucking make sense. They wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? For me, it's about the game. Like, and what I've been playing feels like a masterpiece for me. Like as a first person shooter, like Call of Duty game, it feels like the epitome of what I would want out of that experience.
But
And
could you compare it to the last Modern Warfare 2? And would you say the last Modern Warfare
it's been
2
so
is
long ago, man. It's like
I would say
different era.
the classic Modern Warfare trilogy is up there with one of the best trilogies in gaming. Just like it had so much impact with like the twists and turns that story had, and this just doesn't have this whatsoever.
So basically, the story just didn't do it for Jasper here, right? And he's disappointed where the story went.
Yeah.
Overall,
But you felt like the game. Did you feel like the gameplay, the
gameplay was 10 out of 10,
graphics.
graphics 10 out of 10, all that's 10 out of 10. But I'm
just
I'm looking at
The
it
writing
as
is the big thing that's a miss for you.
I feel like they designed the levels and they told the writing team to go in and make it make sense, and that's just like not how
I could kind of see that in the sense of like if you do the direct comparison to the previous, it's I think this was more for show and go or flash type of thing in comparison to like when they originally created these games. I think Call of Duty wasn't in the place where it is today. It was becoming that behemoth now that it is today. But when they originally released those stories, I think they probably had a storyboard for all three well in advance, so they were able to check off boxes and follow a certain path and have things be more consistent or cohesive from start to finish. This one, I think they went more so for the wow factor because there are some mechanical changes in this game in comparison to previous ones. Graphically, they definitely step things up. So I think this one is more so the spit and polish kind of thing as far as the overall look and performance and play. But the story suffers a little.
I would say that if they continued the story like on par with the first Modern Warfare 2019, like if they kept that like this, the first 2019 had so much like tension and like you were kind of like, oh my god, I don't know what's gonna happen next. But this is just like I don't give a shit. I don't know.
Really,
like,
so for me, it's just for me story wise, this is my favorite one. The story is my favorite story because of how they transition from the cinematics into the gameplay experience and the way the cutscenes are presented and do the transition, and it just carries you through. It's much easier to follow and understand as opposed to the way they presented the stories back in the old Modern Warfare games, which I love those campaigns, but I love those campaigns more for the gameplay and what you're in the set pieces and what you were doing as opposed to the actual narrative. Because it was kind of hard, honestly, for me to follow the narrative back then. Whereas this is like much easier to follow the narrative. And I feel like it's playing out like a focused like movie experience where you're just playing out the action scenes. Right. And that's what I'm loving about it the most, because the story is more well refined, as like it's like a blend almost of cinematic versus and game. And that's the biggest difference for me.
I just felt like there should have been more callbacks towards 2019 and maybe wrap up some of those decisions and then start making new decisions that would be wrapped up in the third one. And it's just a completely different take.
Your main thing is like
it's not a trilogy. It's just like
you're disappointed with where the story is going and what they did with the narrative, right?
Yeah. I feel like they kind of just dropped everything from 2019. It was like, we're doing a new story.
I think another thing that might be part of the disjointness of the stories or from like the 2019 to now is just how can I put this? Like today's boogeyman would be about the best way to put it type of thing. I think this one is less targeted on a certain region, or at least it seems like they're expanding different areas that are going to kind of catch your interest that align something or align somewhat with newsworthy stories here and there type of deal.
Yeah.
As opposed to like with the original story, it was like the 2019 story and even the original, games themselves. It was like, this is the region that we always focus on. This is the region that, the enemy is located at. This is where, it's, I guess they not that they've watered things down, but they've spread things out to make it a little less targeted, I guess is about the best way to put it. I don't know.
And
I
I'm not
know,
saying that it has to be the same story, because Modern Warfare 2019 wasn't the same story, and I love
Right.
that.
Yeah, I guess like what they have done right is make me interested. That's one thing. If anything, I have not bought a Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2. So like the fact that they were able to interest me, I'm like, okay, and I try this and I got as far as I did and like started playing Call of Duty again. That's a gift in itself. But something I always really enjoyed about the old Call of Duties, like the most memorable stories for me was always Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2. And the way they wrote that story just felt brilliant to me. And I don't remember every single detail of those campaigns. Like it's been a long time. So like, and I don't think I would want to go back unless they did the remaster, which you said they did. Like, okay, cool, might check it out. But like, I don't know. For me, I'm just like I'm like in between both of you guys because I could see like the previous games were a masterpiece. Like the way they wrote it, the way they developed, like it was not a game out like it at the time. The way they did the story just felt like super real. I remember it just being on Mountain Dew bottles and TV commercials, and the way they presented the story was like so amazing. So I'm like in between where I'm like I'm pretty sure that was a better experience than what it is now, but I'm also in the boat where I'm just like I'm also seeing it for what it is. Like it's like its own separate experience. It's a remake of the past one. If you want to enjoy exactly how it was in the past, and you know you could go play that. But it's like a weird thing. If you're gonna change things, make sure it's like
On par or better, and it's not.
on par, better, more relevant to whatever the first remake is going to be. So I don't know. I don't really have an opinion either way. I'm like enjoying it for what it is, and that's like it's like rare that I jump back into a Call of Duty game. One, because it barely works for me in multiplayer. It doesn't work on my connection for some reason. But like just jumping back into it, I would say like it's made me more interested in Call of Duty going forward, which is cool.
And I would say to that, like the original Call of Duty's campaigns, I feel like it had such a focus on what it was trying to do. Like the all ghillie suit mission from COD 4, that was like 3 or 4 levels where you played that. So like you had an entire experience in that one thing, whereas this is just like one mission. Hey, remember that? Oh yeah, I remember that. That's cool. Play it one mission, you're done here. Like that's all you do. It's like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even within that level, there's a lot of variance, like within that level, right? Like it's not just all ghillie suit stuff. You're doing a lot of other things in that level too, right? So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, they do pay homage with stuff, but they don't just try and replicate stuff for the sake of it. I feel like they do a good job of fitting that into the story and the necessity for why they're doing what they're doing. And it's created this, for me, like this seamless experience that's easy to follow, right? And it's making me more engaged with the story because of that. Because honestly, like the original Modern Warfare games, I love the gameplay and I love the campaigns, right? But I didn't love them because of what the story narrative was. You could have told me like it was hey, the random soldiers versus random Russians and people in the Middle East or something like that. And it's like you could make up 20 different scenarios and I'd be like, yeah, that probably makes sense for what they were trying to do there. But for me, this is like more this story is more well told, narrative wise, right? Because of the way the set pieces and the cinematics are done. And that's why I compared it to like a good Clancy movie, because you know you have your twists and you have your like set pieces where it's like, you know, add dramatic effect all the way through, and you have your adversity you have to overcome and like all these different aspects. And for me, it just comes across as like a better told story. But that's because we're in this day and age where those things are possible now. You couldn't have those kind of quality cutscenes back then in Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 1. So they had to do it in a different way. And 2019 set this new bar of where they could go. And I think they kind of took advantage of that and they wrapped it up into a story. Now, maybe you feel that way, Jasper, potentially because it's a shorter experience, right? And maybe with the additional stuff, it was going to allude to things in Modern Warfare 3.
I just feel like they didn't have enough time on the missions that they gave us. Like, I feel like the missions, they just made it to like highlight, oh, I remember doing that in the old one, when they could have, like, if they were going to redo that level, like, fucking make me play that level for like 3 hours. Don't fucking just give it to me for 10 minutes and like
hours. No,
I mean that's how they
we
like,
didn't do that in the original. We didn't do that in that original either. Like,
I mean, I'll get it suit up was fucking like 4 missions.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a whole act.
Yeah, I don't even remember how long, but like there was different elements with even that level. It wasn't just sniping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't just
I'm
different
curious
stuff.
of, like,
but
what both of you guys would think, like beat this campaign, and then I'm really curious of like Mav and Jasper streaming, going back and playing Modern Warfare 2 to see, because like games, when games first come out, they're super fresh. It's in your brain. You're like, okay, this is what I find is the best, whatever. And then I'm actually curious if you guys both go back and then see if your opinion is still the same. That's
like
what
the level I'm talking about, like specifically where it's the boat mission, and like there's 2 callbacks in that mission to previous missions. There's obviously the boat, which was in Call of Duty 4, and then you're also on an oil rig on that mission.
You're talking about the canister,
where it's like the containers are shipping across. So that was obviously a callback to Call of Duty 4, but you're also on an oil rig in that mission, which is a callback to, I believe, Modern Warfare 3 or 2, whatever, where you storm an oil rig and you do that entire oil rig segment for like 30 minutes on one mission. But this is like, oh, you're 5 minutes on an oil rig. Oh, I remember that. And then it's 5 minutes on a boat. Oh, I remember that. It's like, why not make those 2 levels where you can expand that like farther instead of just being like, oh, that's cool.
It took me way longer than 10 minutes to beat that level, but maybe that's just me. But I liked how they did that because it made sense for the story, right? I was just not.
There's a major plot point at the end of that oil rig where it's like, you didn't have to add a boat. We could have just not had the boat.
See, I think when you're playing this game, you're thinking back to the old games a lot, right?
No,
because everything you're saying right now is how the issues you have is because of the first games, right?
No, I will say that the boat mission, they could have just planted C4 on the end of that objective on the oil rig, and we would have ended the mission. But no, we had to go drive a fucking boat and crash into another boat and storm the boat, when we could have just planted C4 on this object and been done.
Potentially, maybe they didn't. Maybe, we can always pick apart plot points in all of these movies and games and stuff like that. So I'm not, when I'm playing this, I'm just like embracing the experience that it is, and like I'm not trying to break the realism factor. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this isn't realistic. You know what I mean? It's like,
to me, they broke the realism factor themselves with their bad writing.
I don't know. It's an action game. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I don't know. I'm just embracing like the way the story is told and all that stuff. And like gameplay wise, it's so fucking good. Like 10 out of 10. Visuals, 10 out of 10. Audio, 10 out of 10. The variety in gameplay, 10 out of 10. And I would honestly give, for me, the story narrative like a 10 out of 10. So that's so far. I could change that when I finish the game. I only have like 2 levels left. But that's where I'm at right now, right? And I feel like, what is a review? So this is where we're going to get into this, right? Okay, so let's say you give like all of those different things a 10 out of 10, but you don't like the story, Jasper, because of where it went. So what would you give the story?
That's where you have to distinguish your review. They are only reviewing IGN.
The campaign, right?
Yeah.
But the campaign also has all those elements in it. It's not just story.
Yes.
Right.
I will say that. But the main thing when you review a campaign or a story mode should be the story. That should be your main part of your review, because I think that's...
I don't think so. Not in games. And if you're reviewing a movie, obviously. But with games, I feel like it's weighted across. Because you can have a fucking great story told to you, but the game look and run like shit. And like, what is it? Oh, it's a cool... They're saying cool stuff, but like, this is unplayable. So do you give it a 10?
But it also could happen vice versa, where you have amazing gameplay.
Right. So that's why, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. They all have this own focus and category. right? So,
but I think if you have a good story, your game quality can be a little worse. Like Cyberpunk, I think that game is really good, like story wise. It's like one of the best stories I've ever experienced, but the gameplay wasn't as great as it could have been. And I would say Cyberpunk holds more emotional weight to me because it has an amazing story.
Like I will say, like, people play a lot of Bethesda games for their story, like really good story.
it's not just that's about like
super buggy.
It's not just about the actual storyline though in those games. It's about the world that you're in and like all the side missions and the objectives and like the ambition of those games.
I consider those part of the story.
Yeah,
like, right. It's part of the story, but it's not the narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's part of the campaign.
Story, I'm talking about like the whole world and like all that stuff too. Like that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so how much weight do you put on the narrative?
If I'm reviewing a single player story experience,
right.
I would say like 70%.
Wow. Okay. I would give like equal to gameplay and like variety of missions and fun factor and all that stuff too. Because ultimately the game still has to play fun. Like unless I'm playing like a Telltale game or like a you know what I mean, or a Traveler's Tale game, whatever. Which one's the one that fucking just it's all story shit? Like as Dusk Falls, if the story sucked ass, that would be really bad. You know what I mean? Because it's just like a story game. There's like really not any gameplay. You know what I mean? But like there's so many elements here that is equal to, because for me, like a story, if you don't like the direction that it goes, like narrative wise, that's a very subjective and personal taste thing, right? And that's where like movies differ from games for me. You know what I mean?
But because like I agree with that, but I'm like, at what point?
See, I don't think movies differ from games, like because you
because your movies. I mean, like
you rate visuals in movies. Like Last Jedi, like let's use that as an example. That's a divisive review because a lot of people hate the story, but a lot of people also love the visuals. So it's like, what do we do here?
Yeah, but some games are broken. You don't usually find a broken movie. You know what I mean? Like, and there's. You know, there's a gameplay feel of like actually
you can find a movie that looks like dog shit and have it like amazing story.
I mean, there's like, okay, so Call of Duty, like when you pull the trigger, it feels a certain way, right? When you move, it feels a certain way. When you traverse things, it feels a certain way. When you pick up a gun, it feels a certain way. When the bullet hits an enemy, it feels a certain way. Every little detail plays into a factor of how a game feels and ultimately can affect the overall perception of how good a game is.
At what point you stop comparing it to previous titles that have done stuff better in a franchise is my question. Like, if I
don't know, I wouldn't even say they've done it better in the past titles. I think it's just like a nostalgia factor there. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think this is the best gameplay and best visuals. So
see, it's weird for me because like I'll give the story like 50% weight, and then everything else is the other 50%. So the visuals, the gameplay, the mechanics, the UI, the audio, all of that would be the additional, but the story is about 50% of it. So for something like this where you have a direct reference, I would prefer not to use the direct reference except for its execution. So as long as from beginning to end, you can follow along with the story, it makes sense, or it at least keeps you engaged. Even like, let's say the story outcome is not your preferred outcome. As long as
I kind of think of it as like
that point,
if you look back on this, like, what are you going to remember? And it's not going to be the story.
For me, I'm going to remember the story most.
That's usually things that like age over time, and like whenever we talk about development in a game and like the story is like one of the key points that leads to, like, they have a solid story that leads to those mechanics, that leads to the sound and everything else. If it's a story based game, I don't know. I'm like kind of like half and half. It depends on the game.
See, I think it's so subjective to each person individually that can't be like so. When you look at game reviews, usually people look at it as different than a movie review, as the overall quality of the game, not, you know what I mean? So especially from like let's say big media outlets.
I think that's depending on, because IGN only reviewed the campaign here. That's what we're talking about, is IGN, obviously.
Yeah,
so
but
they
there's
only
more
reviewed
than
the
just
campaign. They didn't review the whole game. If they reviewed the whole game, I think
let's say it was
fine.
a buggy mess, and that like it had really bad level design, and it had like bad gameplay, you know what I mean, and all that stuff should be weighted as also as where the direction of the story goes. You know what I mean? Like,
but it also,
because
I mean,
there's the
you
games are
said it
different.
yourself.
Like you got to build it. You got to build them from like, you know, like it's different than just watching something. You got to play it.
But you said it yourself, so that like Telltale games, right? Where it depends on the game.
Right.
So like I feel like it's the same with me. It depends on what kind of game I play, where I would focus more on the story as opposed to like a like the dinosaur game, like Exo Prime, whatever it was called. Like I'm not gonna pay attention to the story in a Exo game.
Yeah,
but if it was more like God of War or Last of Us, where story is more of a focus of like getting from point A to point B, then yeah, I'm gonna pay more attention to the story. But if it's a game where it's just like you're just shooting mindlessly, where it's not really paying attention to the story, it's more of a back end. I really think it focuses. It matters about the design of the game more for you to rate it. Like if story is not that important, where they just kind of added it, it's more about the gameplay, then I would rate it according to that. But if it's more about the story, and then like the story ends up being trash, then I'm going to rate it on that. That's kind of how I see it, because there are games that do focus
for sure
on the story. So just to say like I like the mechanics, but the game is mostly about the story, then I don't know. Like if I play a Telltale game and the story is trash, but the mechanics are awesome, then I'm definitely gonna rate
Telltale
that
game you
lower.
playing?
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, if the game is mostly about the story and the story is trash, then I'm gonna rate it lower. But if it's more about the mechanics, like you're playing a game with 4 players, you're just mindlessly
See,
shooting.
that's why
stuff.
I think that Call of Duty is pretty balanced with all that stuff. You know what I mean? With the story versus and the gameplay, they all have like equally as important stuff there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just gameplay. You also have to go into audio, and you have to go into like the, you know, the voice acting and the, you know, the quality. Like, and sometimes you see something that's just like, holy shit, that's fucking like so high quality. I've never seen that done before in a game. Like, I've never seen that good of fucking like narrative focused like transition in a first person shooter before, between the cutscenes and the gameplay and the actors and how they're portraying it, and the performances are so good as well.
Yeah, and that gets a point in the review, but the story shit, so it loses a point there.
So if you, but that's a subjective opinion, right? That's why all reviews are different. But I feel like all that other stuff has to be weighted in also, like the gameplay and stuff. If you just say this, the narrative is a 6 for me, that doesn't equal how good the game is overall, because I may like where the story goes and you may not, right? That's where it comes into where the whole opinion thing is. So I feel like reviews sometimes like are misguided in the industry right now, because they're not allowing weight to certain things that they really should be.
Well, isn't that on the user's end then, not the reviewer?
No, the reviewer, because
the reviewer's putting their own opinion. It's up to the user, the
but
reader.
It's up to the media outlet or whatever art to have a weight, to have a certain scale on how they do their reviews, right? And back in the day, for example, like was it Game Pro or something had like, they had like, okay, so or Game Informer maybe back in the day, I can't remember. Yeah, they had like fun factor, you know, like replayability, you know, they had these different categories and they would rate them individually. And then also there's people like Famitsu who have like multiple reviewers review the same game, right? My point with this is like IGN gave this campaign a 6, right? IGN is the biggest media outlet out there. The review, regardless of whether we agree with it or not, holds a lot of weight in the industry. Game developers even get bonuses at times based on reviews, right? And having IGN's 6 weighted into this on what many people out there, and not just not just me, many people consider this a absolutely fantastic Call of Duty game, and to have, because somebody doesn't like where the narrative direction went for them personally.
So what are they supposed
make it
to
a
do?
6.
Because if they lie and say
change the review system overall in the industry to
that's
where,
something that they
especially
would have to like work on, but they can't do anything about that now. Like if they just go and change it to a 9, like
that, but unless we talk about it, and point it out, it'll never change, right? So that's why I'm pointing it out now, because this is a glaring thing for me. Like, it's a problem when people get paid based on reviews. First off, it's a problem when a media outlet has so much weight in these aggregates as well, and also with public perception of something. To have just one person's opinion matters so damn much, right? So, and because of that factor, I feel like these big media outlets hold a certain responsibility to the industry and to the gamers that they're serving, the audience. And I feel like they need to do everything that they possibly can to make sure their reviews are fair and balanced across the board, and not just up to Joe Schmo's personal public opinion on if he liked what happened with the narrative in Mission 3, right? And if you go and you see this game, and it is like a visual masterpiece, the gameplay is top notch, the audio is top notch, it has so much variety in the levels and all this different stuff. Mode. But you're in a story, and the one aspect you don't like, the ending to the story or whatever, right? It's different than reviewing a movie. If I watched like a movie, like an action movie, and I don't like how it ended, I would like, oh, that ending sucked ass, so what killed it for me is a 7, right? But like for this, there's so much more aspects into how the game feels and stuff when you're playing, and it's also a lot longer experience than a movie, and there's also like factors about the replayability aspect of it, and if you had fun while you're playing it, and all these different things that factor into like a game review. And I feel like the industry's kind of lost that, and it's more about just random, like, hey, I'm just a guy, I happen to work for the biggest media outlet in the world covering games, and my personal opinion is going to affect this guy's bonus. You know what I mean? But hey, I didn't like the way the narrative went, so I'm going to give it a 6, even though this game looks and plays like a fucking masterpiece. You know what? It just didn't like where the story went. And because if I would have written that same review,
reviewing a story,
if I was reviewing this review, all of a sudden IGN scores a 10. You know what I mean? It just fucking is all over the place. So reviews are completely like pointless, in my opinion, to begin with, personally, because it's up to your individual perception and opinion on what that is. My point here is you and people like IGN or these big time media outlets need to have certain checks and balances in place where it's not just up to certain random person's opinion on a game, which it is a review. I understand that, but in this gaming industry, reviews matter more than most, right? Reviews matter when people get paid based on them, right? And it also matters when one outlet is by far the biggest out there and is used so much for talking points. So,
but see, that's, I think where we kind of have a different like mindset is like, I think the people who ever pays the people at their company for like, if you get a good review, like they should change themselves. Like everyone should have accountability for their own actions. Like the review, they can do whatever they want. If they want to make a shitty review, they can make a shitty review.
Yeah,
if
that person, that's the media. I'm not judging the reviewer, the individual. I'm judging the outlet.
I think across the board, everyone should have accountability. Like the developers paying, or the studio paying the developers for if they get a good review or not. They should fix themselves. The reviewers,
I agree with that too.
Punish reviewers for freaking.
Yeah, I agree with that too. That should be gone, right? You can't trust user scores in video games, right? Because there's too much fanboyism out there and stuff like that.
Review bombing and stuff.
I don't personally really look at reviews to judge what I want to play, but for me to act like they just don't matter, like to the overall sense of perception out there, is like would be lying. You know what I mean? Like for me, they don't, but ultimately they do hold weight, right? And especially from now, I can say I can disagree with the person's opinion. That's not it. Like I made a tweet. It was like, what? Really? Like, wow, this is like completely different than I'm experiencing. It's crazy. And somebody's like, it's almost like people have different opinions on games. No shit. That's why I just disagreed with it. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with the reviewers' opinions. That's my opinion. You know what I mean? Like but it's weird when in gaming these reviews hold so much weight, and unless they are just so everybody acknowledges in the world that they don't matter anymore, then
you're never going to fix that. So like it's up to the individual to decide whether a review matters to them or not.
I don't trust individuals for that. Like it's and unfortunately I feel like
you can't trust really IGN. Let's be honest.
Nah,
like, they have such a shady past with developers and like how they handle reviews, not finishing the games that they review and everything. So like I wouldn't trust IGN to I basically where I get my reviews honestly is just like from people like us, like, hey Mav, what do you think about this game?
Right.
Okay,
so cool. What do you think about Call of Duty? Mav loves it. I don't like it.
Right.
So I think
I was given
I played the campaign. Like so I have my own opinion. Like I think it's again it's been a while since I've jumped back into a Call of Duty, so it's kind of like a fresh take for me. Yeah. Like jumping back into it, but I can also acknowledge that the previous stories were better. But I'm also like, I don't know, I have bad memory, so I forgot about like the previous stories at the same time. So it's like a brand new experience for me, and I can just like treat it as its own thing. But I can also acknowledge like the past stories were better. Like I don't know, just the way they did Modern Warfare 2 and 1 was like top tier. But what I can also acknowledge is the gameplay, the audio, everything it didn't feel like a 6 to me. It definitely felt like a premium game, like that they spent a lot of time on. I would say like a 6 to me is something like I don't know, some indie game that doesn't function very well. I don't know.
Yeah, this happened with Halo 5 too. Some reviewer gave it like a 3 out of 10 or something like that. And it was for like this, because they didn't like the story, where the direction of the story went. But like that game was gorgeous, the gameplay was really good, and like all these other factors that weren't ever considered, and that review was weighted in with the metas, right? So it's like,
which is crazy to me because Halo 5 like it's weird. I kind of get it. Like it's weird because you kind of have to take other games into consideration, just based on their review style, right? Like
it's like people reviewing these things in a bubble. Like it's like I'm reviewing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign as if it's a video game campaign. You know what I mean? And I'm playing that. And if you compare it, like if you only compare like a Halo game to other Halo games, then that's a travesty to Halo. If you only compare Call of Duty campaigns to Call of Duty campaigns, then it's like you're just reviewing and nitpicking things within itself. Like you have to judge it against because it's everything else is weighted across the entire industry.
It's hard to do when you have like the MCU, right? And you have Ant-Man 3, and you're like in your mind you have all of this knowledge, this history of MCU movies. It's like I'm treating it as its own thing, but I'm also seeing like how other people can't. Like if I just have watched all the Marvel movies and I jump into like Miss Marvel or something, and I'm just like I liked some of the other stuff better. Can you introduce what I liked into this? Like I could get both mindsets. Like I can enjoy it and not care about the previous games, whatever, even though I can acknowledge what was good.
I'm not comparing this to the OG trilogy. I'm just comparing
but
this
I'm saying like a lot of
Modern Warfare 2019.
Like people have done that with Halo 5. Like that was a major thing for Halo 5, was like it didn't feel like the other Halos. They changed too much from the Halo formula. Like they couldn't treat it as its own thing. Like that was a big thing about why a lot of people hated Halo 5, was because like, oh, I didn't like it. That it didn't feel like Halo 3 or 2. You changed the sprinting mechanics, you changed that. And I mean, I was in that boat too. You like, why do they have sprinting? I was on that.
The whole story on that Halo 5 was just complete dog ass. But
and I mean that was actually a really bad story. But
it was still a well-made game though.
It was still, that's the thing. It was such a well-made, like if you were just The other Halos don't exist. You take Halo 5, it's one of the best first person shooters around that time frame. Like the way they designed the mechanics and everything was like top tier. But because you're comparing it to some of the best other Halos ever made, you're like, well, because you introduced these new mechanics, it's so hard.
But see, I think that's when you gotta change what you're reviewing there. Like you gotta, if you're gonna say that, you have to review the entire game as a whole. Whereas like what we're talking about now is they just reviewed the campaign.
But they did just review the campaign back then too. You know what I mean? Like for Halo, big games. A lot of these media outlets, they review the campaign separately and the multiplayer separately, right? It's just it's a trend actually. IGN started. They started doing that because that way they can get double the clicks for the reviews, right? So all of a sudden now you have your campaign review, and then later they review the multiplayer. And I feel like that made sense for why they released the game early. Even it gave them even more spotlight, you know, for the campaign here. But even if they reviewed the multiplayer, within this, like, what is that? How is that going to affect the overall score? We don't know.
I would say that if the multiplayer is as good as I expected to be, the review would probably be like a 9. The story wouldn't matter as much because the majority of the time would be spent in multiplayer, and that's the majority of the game.
But we don't know that, right? Like we don't.
Yeah, I'm saying if it's like as good as I expected to be and stuff.
Right. Well, I'm saying even like we don't know if if the reviewer would still have that same perception that you do, or still hold the same weight.
Even going to have the same review,
or maybe they don't like multiplayer that much, and all they care about is stories. You know what I mean? It's like this game from IGN's perspective was reviewed by a novel reviewer. You know what I mean? Instead of like a game reviewer, right? Like,
I guess the biggest thing is you got to look at the reviewer and what common ground you have with the person that's doing the review.
100%.
Like, do they have similar interests? Do they look at games in the same fashion? Like, so for me, for example, I was one of the few that like, Mass Effect and Andromeda, by and large, primarily because it was one of my first Mass Effects, but it rang true as like more of like this, like, I guess you could say Bizarro World Star Trek type game in a way, the way it was laid out as far as how you build your crew and stuff. So for me, just having it in that bubble of not having the previous Mass Effects to compare to, it was, in my opinion, a good game. Sure, there were some buggy and glitchy things in the beginning, which they patched out or patched later on. But overall, the mechanics, the combination of abilities, the gunplay, things along those lines were the things that stood out the most in comparison to a lot of people that dogged it were comparing the story compared directly to like a Mass Effect story. So it's definitely going to score lower in comparison to those. But, for what it was at that given time, it was an entertaining game and worth my time and money. I look at, Modern Warfare, kind of in the same light. Like for me, Modern Warfare or any Call of Duty is never going to be as heavily weighted as far as for the story. As long as the story doesn't put me to sleep, I'm good. Like as long as I'm having fun shooting stuff, I think that's where I'll enjoy it. So I'll probably give it back. Well, I'm definitely going to give it better than the 6. But when you start comparing it to other Call of Duties, the other ones may score higher, but I would still give this one a decent enough score because I think for these first-person shooters now, especially ones that are grounded somewhat in reality for boots on the ground type stuff, the visuals, I think, carry, at least for me, a lot more weight these days because after playing so many other previous Call of Duties, looking at other stuff that's out there now, and then seeing this, and it being on par visually with some of the best visuals in games that are in Unreal and so forth, I that seems to carry more weight for me than the story would, and that's why I look at like a score of a 6 is a bit of a low set. Like I would probably give it like maybe a 7.5 or an 8 or something like that. But a 6 to me would be more so something where it's like, I don't even really want to finish this. Like, it caught my interest for a while, and I'm still early on in the game. So if the game starts to get to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't even want to bother playing this anymore, then I'll agree that yeah, it's a 6. But if it at least keeps me from start to finish playing through, it's got to be better than the 6 to me, because
Yeah.
otherwise anything lower than a 7 is like, yeah, it's not completely worth
6
my
is
time.
pretty in the games reviews world. 6 is pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like 6 in a movie is it like, okay, yeah, it's cool. A 6 in a video game is usually looked at as like, that's not a good game, right? Like in the overall consensus, if we're being honest, it's like 7 and above, usually like, okay, it's decent. And when it gets to 8s, it's like a good game. 9s is like, that's a fucking great game. You know, then you have your like 10s as masterpiece, you know?
Yeah.
And you got your 4s and broken games, 5s, 4s, and 3s are usually broken.
I mean, that's just because the whole fucking game review scale is just fucking broken.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Too.
You gotta. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like you gotta have, especially on a big media outlet like that, when you have all the resources that you do, and I feel like you gotta have some checks and balances and a certain system in place. And
that's why I kind of like the rating scale that's like rent, buy, don't buy, because like
that's why I like
it brings a clearer picture to who you are as a gamer, whether or not you prefer that type of game, because we all have different points of views and like on like games in general. But I think I don't know, it gets kind of tricky when you do the 1 to 10 scale.
See, because for me, like a 6 is just like, it's like, okay, like I'll play it.
Like average, right?
Yeah, but like a lot of people, that's like a 2. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, no, like 2 is like terrible.
And you also
it crashes after you get to the start menu.
You also like Crossfire X, Jasper, so we just gotta all keep that in mind.
Different reasons.
That's
not gameplay reasons
about Crossfire X. But it wasn't what I thought it would be, but it was still like something.
So another issue like I have with so this is what caught my attention to this. It's not even necessarily the review in itself. It's when like one of their editors, right, executive editor, made a tweet out about this review, and he says, "Another big fall AAA game disappoints." Frowny face, right? And he hasn't touched the game yet, but he's using the IGN review. And this person probably has like, let's see, 147,000 followers. Okay. So the person that works at IGN quote tweets an IGN review saying, looks like another big AAA fall disappointment based on just one person's opinion, right? That was published by IGN because of one person's opinion. You see what I'm talking about by the weighting of this, right? And why it matters, because it impacts public perception, regardless of whether we want it to or not. Now, Jasper, we got all different opinions, 100%.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I'm just saying, like, maybe it's because, like, I can think for myself, and I guess the fucking general world can't do that.
Exactly. I can think for myself, too, right?
People do buy things based on, like, I have a lot of friends who are like, what was their review? Oh, okay, I'm not buying. You know, so I do have, like,
right? There's people who are like, oh, I guess fuck, Call of Duty shit. IGN said it's shit. It's going to be bad. You know, oh, fuck, I'm going to wait. Like, oh, well, fuck, another bad Call of Duty. You know, there's people that are going to think that just because of this. Now, if they had they had like 3 reviewers like Famitsu, or they had like, because of the weight of how big IGN is, right? Or other sites that have equal, like, I mean, nobody's equal to them, but like closer to the status that they have, right? Then I think there should be definitely checks and balances. And I've actually been kicking around the idea, because of how broken the fucking review systems are in gaming, to actually like do our own reviews. And I don't know how, because first off, I would only be able to review the games I finish, because that's the number one thing for me as well. But we have a bunch of different people that, you know, have opinions. So I was wondering, maybe we do something as like a segment in our shows or something like that, where we review a game a week or something like that. And, and one of us like picks a game and we review it or something like that. Right. But within that, we can create a discussion and have disagreements or whatever. And we can come to a consensus for anybody that's finished that game. You know,
we all had the same opinion. It'd be kind of boring, like, in just society. Right.
So I know that people have in our chats, and even when I'm streaming games, will say like, I bought this game because I saw you playing it and it was having fun. But because people, for me, like, one of the reasons I feel like reviews don't hold as much weight as they used to, like, because beforehand, but back in the day, you didn't get to play a game. You didn't have Game Pass also, and you also couldn't really watch a game. All you had to look at was like the videos released by the fucking developers as trailers, right? So when it came to reviews back in the day, we held more weight to them because those were like our eyes and ears and our trusted sources for like people to tell us if these games were shit or not before we went and spent $60 on it, or 50, $60, whatever they were back then, right? Now we can watch Twitch or YouTube and get tons of gameplay videos. You can hop around to different people streaming the game and ask their opinions. You can like read articles from all these different bloggers and stuff as well, and you have all these different things, all these different resources to be able to make up your own damn mind.
Yeah.
However, still people don't.
I agree.
Also, I'm not saying Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is a bad game. It's just mid.
I think it's excellent. I would say if I was to have a tier system, it would be like, you could say mid would be in there. That would be a good one. Bad, mid, good, or excellent, right?
Bad, mid, good, or excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean,
mid tier to me is like 5 or 6. That's where my mid tier is.
Fuck, you think this is a 5 or 6, Jasper?
The campaign, not the whole game, just the campaign.
The story.
Yeah,
the story,
not the rest of the campaign that also matters. You're just only judging the story
because I'm playing a story mode. Yes.
But see, my thing is there's so many story modes that are broken or just don't play good or don't feel good also, and there's maybe the writing's good, but all those other factors factor into it also, because it all impacts our experience. You know what I mean?
Again, to me, it depends on the type of game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna judge Exo Primal or wherever that dinosaur game was on it.
But you know what, Jasper? Maybe like here's the thing: when people find reviewers that they agree with their ways of thinking, right? That's a big part of it. So somebody might be like really look towards your reviews because they know the way you think and stuff like that, right? But people just see IGN as IGN. They don't fucking even look at who wrote the review.
I mean, I didn't even read shit anyway. So
yeah,
all I saw was disappointment, and then they gave it a 6.
Right. Which you personally agreed with,
yeah.
Right? Like, I'm fucking like, what the hell are you playing? Like, oh my god, this is like one of the fucking best things I've ever played. Like, this is amazing. I'm like sitting here in fucking Call of Duty heaven, and then I see like IGN like a 6. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. You know what I mean? But like, wow, that's gonna have a lot of weight. And everybody that I've talked to besides Jasper is absolutely in love with this game, right?
Yeah, let's do it. A roundtable review sounds good because we all have like different views on a lot of games. We all come from like different backgrounds, so that sounds cool.
So yeah, I mean, I've wanted to figure out a way to do that, but like it takes certain games to get me to finish, and I can't force myself to finish games, and I'll fucking hate gaming, right? If I have to force myself to finish a bad game, I will never fucking want to play games again.
There's certain games I would love to force you to play though, like story wise.
What example? Right? Okay, you kind of pressured me to play Hellblade, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people did. They tell me I got to play Hellblade. I was like, I tried. I didn't really get into it. I fucking finally played. I sat through it. Oh my god, fucking masterpiece, right? Like I would give that an excellent if our review scale was that. If I was to give it an actual number score, I would probably say like a 9.5 out of 10 or something like that. And the only thing I would take a little bit down is just like the gameplay could have been a little bit more varied, with the combat. Other than that, like fucking masterpiece, like I loved it. Yeah,
I can't wait for the sequel.
But yeah, I think we could figure something out. Some people have been asking if we're gonna do reviews in the past and stuff. And I just feel like it needs to be done in a different way, man. Like,
and I think that I see people calling like my opinion like wrong or whatever, but like I get it.
It's just
like,
an opinion,
Yeah, I think that this will be the best Call of Duty, but it won't just have the best campaign. Like I think it will be the best Call of Duty. It's just the campaign won't be that great.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, again,
because I put more weight towards Call of Duty for multiplayer or stuff like that.
I think it was Tony Grasso that said a while ago. So someone was saying, Yeah, it's Tony Grasso. He said the big review sites should have 3 different people reviewing the game.
They can
and
afford
take
it.
an aggregate score, which I think they should do. But maybe for our review table thing, if we do decide to do it, it would be what would make it different is all of us are just talking about it and then giving our
and whoever's actually finished the game would be allowed to give a score, and then we can all weigh in with our opinions about that.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Cool. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Well, I don't know what show we'll do it on though. If we'll do it on Xbox Ultimate or it's got to be on FSP because this is the show where we talk about all the fucking platforms. You know.
Yeah. Guess this one.
Like if one of us finishes God of War Ragnarok, and here's the thing, we're probably won't get review copies early and stuff like that unless I really try, which is a whole other aspect of things. Which I probably could try and do that, but like
Sony's gonna look at what you've said in all your podcasts.
I don't feel like sucking people's dicks to get review codes. I'm sorry. I mean, I will like put out there, hey, you know, I'm interested in reviewing the game or whatever, and to a PR company or whatever, but like I'm not gonna be like, please let me play your game. Please, I don't want to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like if they send us it and enough people ask from our community, maybe they would start, you know, because like I'm not going to sit there and beg or like feel like pressured to give a good score, right? They would have to feel enough value in our opinion as a channel to want to do that, I feel like.
Yeah, but then it comes to the point where like if you do get a review copy, like you're going to be pressured into finishing it and that may sway your decision.
That's another thing. I won't. And if I feel like if we got a review copy and I feel like I wouldn't finish that game, I would see in our DMs like who's most likely wanting to finish this game, right? And I would send it to whoever would probably finish it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to officially give ever a score to a game that's not done. I feel like that's wrong.
I hate the number system anyway.
Yeah,
I'll buy through it.
Yeah, he's here. And I also don't like to I feel like everything needs to be given weight to. You know what I mean? Like with reviews in general.
Yeah.
I've seen too many like games just nitpicked for one thing and then like the rear focuses on that one thing and it completely kills the score. So, but all of us are different, so it's going to be interesting. DRAWNTJ hit us with a $5 super chat. Says, hi guys, I hope Age of Empires comes to Xbox Series X. You best believe it's coming to Xbox Series X. Mark it down. I guarantee it, guys. It is. The announcement is happening tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to officially release.
Adding it to mobile.
Oh, that's not happening, Jasper. No.
We're having Age of
Empire mobile. What?
That baby's coming to Xbox Series X, and you best believe it. I think it'll probably be sooner than later, but we'll get that announcement tomorrow. I hope so. I'm putting my reputation on stake here. I guarantee it. Right?
You smell it?
Oh, I mean,
Aaron
Greenberg fucking pretty much said it.
Background.
Oh my god.
We are here to announce 3 dynamic backgrounds. Thank you guys
for a game that you can't even play on Xbox, but you can have a wallpaper for it.
Right.
If you don't have it on Xbox, get wallpapers on your PC. Good old wallpapers.
God of War is coming around the corner, guys, and early impressions are extremely high on that game.
Yeah.
Y'all think it's gonna be a contender for Game of the Year?
I mean, obviously it's gonna be in that list.
I mean, do you think it actually? What I mean, but not is it's gonna be nominated, right? That's not a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it actually has a chance to knock off Elden Ring?
I think, given the reviewing party, yes. I think if it was based on gamers, like
it's also
if there's a Gamers Choice Award, I think it's a different story. But I think with the gaming media that does the reviews for Game of the Year for the VGAs, yeah, it hands down it wins. It wins pretty much, unanimously. I call it. I'm not going to call it biased, but I will say it wins unanimously.
Okay,
I think so. Because I keep thinking about how well Elden Ring reviewed, it got like a lot of 10s, and a lot of people, that was their first sort of Souls game jumping into it. That's hard. I don't know. It's either gonna be Elden Ring or God of War. So I don't know.
I think God of War has an advantage just because it's fresh. Like it'll be like something they just played, so they can
call that recent.
Usually, previous games, like if a game comes out later or whatever, they get screwed. Like, isn't Halo Infinite finally like gonna be nominated? Halo Infinite is a great game. I don't know.
It's not going to get nominated.
Is it going to be nominated? No.
Nope. My gut is Plague's Tale, Pentiment.
Oh yeah.
Maybe As Dusk Falls, Ragnarok.
Unless if there's some dumbass like plot in the story where like, oh, Kratos is dead now. It's like, what the fuck? You killed Kratos and now we just get to play as the boy. Like, yeah. Like I think that could like hurt the game if there's something stupid like that. But
it didn't hurt with what's his name getting killed in The Last of Us 2.
I mean, it hurt the reviewers, but
yeah, a lot of the reviewers.
It hurt the reviewers, but it didn't hurt its chance of winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Mino.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is potentially a game.
They got to put some.
It's gonna be nominated, but I don't think it's gonna win.
I think Cult of the Lamb beats it, although some of the bad, well, not bad patches, but the early release versus the patches that came later, I think may hurt Cult of the Lamb, but that I think stands a chance.
That was bogus that Forza didn't win. Like the fact that it was a racing game, like hurt it. That was so dumb.
Yeah.
To me, like every genre should be eligible.
It should be, but for Keeley's, he's making his own rules in the vein of Hollywood. I think. I think if it kind of mimics the way Hollywood would work to some extent, then yeah, they'll continue doing it, and they'll have like certain genres, like a fighting game, a racing game, or sports games. They'll never be up for Game of the Year, even if they sell a gajillion copies and get 10s out of 10s. No, they'll never.
That's always been weird to me. Like if you are a racing game, fighting game, RPG, Japanese RPG, Western RPG, first person shooter, like it shouldn't matter what genre you are. If your game's a masterpiece, it should be nominated, regardless. But that's how I've always seen it. But it seems like they want to separate it, which to me defeats the purpose of the Game of the Year. But I don't know.
I think like 5 or 6 years ago that was the case, because like remember the original Overwatch won. So I think it
should be whatever game has a significant like culture impact. I think should be Game of the Year, not like or something like that. I think that's kind of what it used to be. Like whatever like changed culture like that year, or was like the biggest talked about game was usually what won.
Yeah, sometimes those games are like 7s though. You know what I mean? And those don't usually win it, but it's usually has to go hand in hand, I think. Like, but then you've had some that are like real like obscure games win, like Journey, like a Journey won.
Yeah, you have your indie artsy fartsy games that always win.
Right. I'm not saying that it was a really popular game. It was, but it wasn't like if it was like what everybody played the most, and Call of Duty would win every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting what goes into that process too. I mean, who knows what it's going to be? 50. I would say I would give it a 70% chance that it's going to be Elden Ring, and 30% chance that it'll be God of War. Right?
I think it's the reverse.
You think it's reverse
as far as the reality of the Keeleys, but my personal take would be 70-30, but yeah, I think it gets flipped.
Keeley's pushed Elden Ring so much at the Game Awards, though. Like originally, they got the original reveal of Elden Ring. The first tease was there. Then they had like another trailer there and all this stuff. And he's kind of like really ran with Elden Ring a lot for his show and like for them to culminate that with Game of the Year. Also, I feel like would like also make a lot of sense for them. but I understand his
I
PlayStation.
cannot predict. Usually, I don't know. I can't predict what the heck they're gonna do because I know they love their PlayStation. So I don't know. I'm kind of half and half that it's gonna be Elden Ring or God of War, and then I guess it really depends when it comes out how much hype it's gonna have. Is it like going to maintain the hype that it did for the first game? Because I don't see that same hype from the first game. Like people are hyped for it. Don't get me wrong, but they're not as hyped as when it first came out.
How do y'all think it's going to sell? You think it'll sell more than the last God of War or less?
No, I think it'll sell about just under half, or no, just over half.
But they're going to bundle it with every PS5 that's out there also right away.
Yep. And
so that's going to help a lot.
I think it will be an 11 or 12 mil within 8 months, but I think that's where it peters out because they'll make the mistake of not putting it on PC day and date. I think you put it on PC day and date, it goes a lot further. But
a year after release, it'll be on PC. If we can,
a year after, and then you'll get maybe 1.5 million or 2 million.
I think it'll say like
if you do day and date.
It'll sell like 1.3 million in the first week.
I think it'll do more than that in the first week, but I think it peters off only because it's weird. They had a God of War console last time around. This time they only have a controller, which I'll be honest, looks hideous. The console last time was pretty decent in comparison as far as like custom console, but I can't stand that controller. That controller does it. I won't knock the artist behind it, but it just looks like it was kind of like, oh, just put something together real quick kind of thing. It didn't look as detailed as like the console did last go around. So I don't think the bundle. I think the bundles move.
Well, I mean, wasn't the
I don't
Spider-Man
think
controller that came with the Spider-Man PS4 just red?
Yeah, I mean that one was it was red and it had the Spider-Man logo, but that was all you really needed.
Yeah, I don't think PlayStation
like
has PlayStation really like they haven't done like the Master Chief controller. Like Xbox has the Master Chief one where it changes the entire controller. Like PlayStation doesn't really do much of that.
No, they never do. But they at least when they do some of their custom consoles for like their first party stuff, they tend to do a bit better. It's like they know what their player base wants, and they wind up picking it up as like a second console or something along those lines. But this time going around with just the controller, I don't see a lot of people talking about getting that controller. I see more people, even though there aren't many talking about the Edge controller.
That's what we're talking about. That controller was trash. I'm sorry. That controller looked terrible. Their red PS5 or PS4 with Spider-Man looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I hate the way the God of War controller looks.
Yeah.
Like it looks really ugly. What they should have done is like I don't know. I just don't like the color
like
scheme.
runes going up the side of it or something. Like
I would have did like golden runes or something. I guess they went with the blue and white with that way because it's supposed to be like ice, and like Ragnarok is more like a lot of the levels I've seen are based on ice. But I don't know. It looks kind of trashy.
I think if they went with like a somewhat clouded, clear controller to make that look like ice, I think that would have did better.
Oh, or that, yeah. If they made the whole controller look like
they would have to make a new plastic though. They could just paint over the one they have.
That's true. You are right. It's like this was the quick and dirty kind of like thrown together deal. The other one would definitely take a lot more, manipulation or production stuff. But I think God of War Ragnarok sells well, just not as well as the 2018.
I think it's just because it's that mid-gen game where people are going to be waiting for a PlayStation 5 and not picking it up on PlayStation 4 yet.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. Like, I'm just surprised that they're doing the bundle right off the bat. Like, normally they wait 6 months to see how well the sales do on its own, and now they're bundling it from get-go.
Last of Us sales. The Last of Us sold 1.3 million. I'm like, I think it would sell similar to that. Yeah. So Last of Us 1 sold 1.3 million units in the first week.
What, the remake or
the very first one?
Oh, okay. Well, that was also 10 years ago or whatever now, so
So it could, yeah. I mean,
gaming's grown a lot.
Part 2 sold 4 million in its first 3 days. So
I think before the end of the year they hit somewhere between 6 and 8 mil. Like it, I'm not saying that this game isn't going to sell fast. It's just that once it reaches a certain amount, it's just going to kind of stay there, kind of thing. I don't think this goes to 20 mil like the first one did. I think it stops, somewhere around 12 mil or so. But they knock out like 6 or 8 mil of those sales before the year's out.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. They really should do more PC. I heard their PC releases are like, some of them aren't, like Uncharted isn't doing super well. Is that true?
I don't know. I don't give a shit about Uncharted.
Like the God of War 2018 PC release didn't do as well, but it's like if I'm a PC only player, I don't bother with consoles.
Also, it was Uncharted was just Thieves Legacy, so it was like the spin-off game. It wasn't all of them. So
on the PC,
yeah. So like you would just be jumping in at a random point, like you don't even have like all of them.
Oh, I thought it was like interesting. Yeah, I didn't know which Uncharted it was. I thought it was there all of them though.
And that's one of the games that they should probably do a remake of, at least of the original one, if anything, because that game is kind of old at this point. But I think from a PC player standpoint, it's like there's already a ton of PC games out there. If you want to get people excited on the PC end of things that don't care for consoles, just have it day and date. It's not like that crowd is not going to buy the game on console because they don't already have they don't have the console. They're just going to buy it on PC.
Like they're starting to realize slowly that like you would make more money having it on more platforms, and like they're starting to expand that, but they're still willing to kind of hold on to their old Sony-ness where they want to keep things on like their platform. I mean, it makes sense. They're the market leader, so they're doing something right.
True.
So I feel like over time that mentality is going to change. It's just a matter of when. Like I feel like Microsoft is going to push them in kind of a corner where they're going to feel like they have to start innovating in different areas, like introducing their games to more platforms, doing more stuff with cloud and tech. Maybe they probably won't do this. Introduce better frame rates for older games like PS1 games.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
I think they just need to remap the controls. If they could remap the controls of those older games, it would be good. But going back and playing some of those, it's just like the control layout is just dog water, and it's like I can't play this.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure over time we're going to see a much different Sony. Right now, I mean, we are seeing a different Sony with how they're complaining about the CMA and stuff like that. That's wow. That's definitely interesting. But we'll definitely see a different Sony over time as they realize that it's pretty beneficial for them to release their games on other platforms. So
just imagine the mods day one on God of War Ragnarok.
The PC crowd will go insane. I think if they release God of War on PC and PS4 and PS5 on day one,
it increases the word of mouth spread that people can talk about, because there's you just introduce a whole nother community that can actually talk about the game instead of just locking it down to one.
Waiting for like like I feel like it would do way better in my opinion, but they don't see it that way. And I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I mean, to be honest, I think they are just behind in like their PC port stuff. Like I think they need time to catch up with those games. Like that's what they're doing now, but they're just so far behind with older games that they're trying to port over as quickly as possible.
I mean, but they have the money. It's not like, I feel like it's more so their philosophy than them just being behind. Like if they wanted,
I mean, I feel like if they really had the chance to put God of War on PC day one, they would do it. But I just don't think they're ready. Like I think they still need time to port it.
Nixus is not up to speed just yet.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
I feel like I was gonna bring up this. I just saw a tweet from Tom Warren. I found it very interesting, but I wanted to talk about that. But if we open up that conversation, it's gonna drag on for another hour, I think. So I'm gonna hold that off. We'll talk about this another time. Yeah, we'll do. I think. I also another aspect to this was IGN's review of Gotham Knights that they had released when I was talking, or when we were talking about the reviews earlier. Because I gave it a 5. Overall, and that's the whole game. not just one aspect. Also, now I agree. For me, like the biggest takeaway on Gotham Knights is the optimization of it is really poor, and that affects the experience overall for me. Overall, though, the rest of it is a fucking great game, like for me at least, right? So, if you can get past optimization, there's still something there. I feel like there's no excuse for the poor optimization. It's a game that I feel like will get better as the patches happen, but again, with the great gameplay, the great story, the great combat, the investigation stuff, the stealth aspects, the city, like the photo mode is really good. Like,
isn't that like the exact opposite of Modern Warfare for you? Like, well, you like the campaign,
know,
but I'm just saying like that the performance is shit in Gotham Knights, but you don't weigh that in because you.
No,
like
I am weighing it in. I'm saying I would knock down the score because of it. Like it would be a 9 for me, but right now it's a 7.
Okay.
Right. Like but once the optimization gets fixed, it's like a 9, you know, but it's right now it's a good game that could be excellent. It could really get to that excellent if they get the optimization right. But that I feel like it's still going to be really enjoyable. It just is not as enjoyable as it could be. Like I'm having a blast with it. The more I play it, the more the frame rate becomes less of an issue because you get used to it. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of like it starts mind fucking you until you become accepting of like last generation frame rates. And once I got to that point about like 4 or 5 hours in, I was like, it really started hitting home for me, you know? So I think that despite the frame rate, it's still a fantastic game, but that's an aspect you have to take into account for sure.
Yeah. Despite the fact that the Modern Warfare story is shit, it's still a fantastic game.
6 is not fantastic.
Well, that's not the whole game. That's just the story.
Okay. You haven't played the rest of the game yet, Jasper.
I kind of have. I played the beta. It's not much is going to change.
Doesn't count. It's a beta. You can't review a beta unless you're IGN. They review game preview games and betas. All right.
It's Call of Duty. They don't change from the beta.
That's true. There will be a lot more maps, though. It'll be more content. I can't wait for that. Speaking of that, hey guys, Tidbits is here. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Tidbits. This is a segment here on FSP. This is why I don't know if we can have a review segment on this show, because holy shit, we got Tidbits still too. So how about this? We do a review. We try and do one review a week, right? We'll spend like 10 minutes on it. Okay. And then we'll do Tidbits. And that's how we'll end the show each week.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because we can discuss which games we might be playing for, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And give a review for our individual games, because I'm pretty sure we're not gonna all play the same.
Like next week we'll probably do our official Call of Duty campaign review. Yeah. Because I think
Call of Duty game review, not campaign.
Well, we've played enough of the multiplayer. Yeah, we'll have had a weekend with it. Yeah, we've played it for like fucking 30 hours.
Also, I don't know if we'll do a show next week anyway, but
it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the week after then. Yeah, you're right. All right, here we go. First up, the quest for Mad Mike and the quest for stale gum. Quest for Mad Mike and the quest for stale gum. That's an interesting game title.
I wasn't sure if this was like a prank game or what.
What the fuck is this?
I don't know if you remember the Garbage Pail Kids stickers.
What do you do in the
game
industry
industry
when you have a whole bunch of games?
Wow, the visuals for this game are insane.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Rocket orbiting the Earth. Banned in 13 countries.
they needed to hide.
Is this a fucking documentary?
Forever.
It's the commercial is like a documentary. It's because when I first saw this, I thought it was just going to be a documentary. It's apparently a game that they're selling for $80 on the NES. You can get the cartridge version of it.
What?
I couldn't find pricing for the other platforms.
And Pat Splat. They're just three in a whole family of garbage pail kids. A collection of gruesome-looking creatures.
Is this a trailer for something that we're watching right now? I'm confused.
It's there's unfortunately no gameplay trailer per se of the game. There's little clips of the game mixed into this.
Is
This whole thing is I honestly I thought it was a prank. I really like when I first saw this like documentary type video like a month ago. I was like, I don't remember a Garbage Pail Kids game. Like I used to have all cards.
So these guys are making a new Nintendo cartridge, NES cartridge game.
Yep.
What?
Man, that's
For
gonna
$80.
sell amazing.
That's gonna sell tins.
Garbage Pail Kids.
I think it's just for people to buy it as a collector's item and never open it. It'll be a vaporware game with a blank board inside that plastic.
There's some
coat.
screenshots on Steam of the game.
Behavior modification.
What you have to understand here is that this was the Reagan era. These aren't good, clean, wholesome toys.
The parents went to the front lines on this. They didn't want this game out there.
It is a sick, disgusting.
There was a Garbage Pail Kids movie. Y'all seen that?
The naysayers
Yeah.
killed it. No way this was going to get approved by Nintendo.
The game never showed up.
So they kill the game. They have all these cartridges manufactured, taking up valuable space in a warehouse somewhere. What are they going to do with it?
I've heard stories about.
I know with ET they buried ET. So
Buried in the
So this
desert,
was the original
farms.
game? Like, this was actually a game
Eventually
made from back then?
someone's gonna dig that up. There's a whole science called
Supposedly.
dedicated to that.
I've seen
I'm thinking this is some sort of hoax or prank or something. I don't know.
I think it's something that the whole world deserves to see.
They fucking hired a submarine to fucking go
Is it
look
the
for
cup of
video
cartridges?
games.
Is it the Holy Grail? Who knows? That's the whole point of going on the quest.
I think people are ready for it. I think society is ready for it.
Did they do this with
It
ET?
might be the right game.
Well, they
for
definitely
us.
buried ET in the desert.
Yeah,
And
Xbox made a
in
documentary
trash,
about finding that.
Compost piles or whatever.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, that was not. I don't even know what's going on still right now.
That was the most non-gameplay game trailer ever.
Was that listed on Game Informer's website?
Yes. Like I said, I thought this thing was a prank a month ago. Maybe they
There's
pranked
screenshots
even
for the
Game
game on
Informer.
Steam.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So this is Saturnalia.
Welcome to Saturnalia. A
$20,
horror adventure
Saturnalia.
with
PS4,
elements of
PS5, Xbox One XS,
puzzle
Switch, and
solving,
PC.
exploration, and roguelite progression. You'll play as a cast of characters.
This is some Unity ass
some
shit, isn't
available
it?
from the start, and some
This
to
looks
be
very
unlocked
artsy
during
3-bit.
your
I'm sure you're into it.
They all have their own personal motives and storylines.
It's supposed to be
They
kind of like a
share
survival game. This must be like survival game week because this and I think the next title are in that same genre.
My God, this animation.
It's like hand-drawn
Each character has
3D
unique
stuff.
Tools and abilities to help you explore hidden areas and survive. There are no markers or virtual compasses in Saturnalia. As you learn your way around the village of Gravois, you'll orient yourself with signs.
The
local
style is
landmarks,
super unique.
Change your character, or team up for more flexibility. Even ask
No,
your
Paper,
companion to
Paper
guide you
Mario did
somewhere
this
with
like
the in-game
fucking
maps.
20 years ago.
I guess. I'll take it.
Use phone booths to continue on from a different location, or ask a teammate to meet
Is this 60 FPS? I don't know, Deathlord.
As you explore, you will
I
discover
don't think you need 60 FPS. If there's
I don't
super-
think the animations are even 60. They're like 2 FPS. The animations are.
Yeah. So even if it was 60, I feel like that would
It's just,
That's
just some little artsy type, you
Yeah,
know,
artsy fartsy game, yeah.
game. It's cool. I mean, there's definitely an audience for this stuff.
Often, Tools will be required to
He's
create new
basically
realms,
saying this game
solve
sucks, you
puzzles,
guys.
or
No,
It's not.
no, this could be a great game. I don't know. The kid
If
have a
you're
lot
a
of.
fan of AHA, you'll love this game.
resources are scarce
Cobra
and
Cola.
must be managed wisely.
I don't know if this is
And
my
have
type
less
of game,
obvious uses
but
for you to discover.
I'll try it.
Use
Will you,
matches to light your way.
You ain't gonna play this game
Depends
for a
on
bit.
what system it's for.
It's on everything.
Find
What-
hidden objects.
Is it on Game Pass though?
No, I don't think so.
Then
No.
probably
As you
not.
explore the winding
Oh, so you only play stuff that comes to Game Pass? Man, Game Pass has ruined the industry.
It's bad for gaming.
I was thinking that in the back of my mind, but literally, it's like games I normally wouldn't try. I go on Game Pass, so it's like.
Okay. Do y'all want to move to the next game? I vote yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, everybody, we got Psychonauts, which is releasing on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. $30. Coming out on the 27th. Supposedly that Garbage Pail Kids game is tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is this?
Psychonauts.
They're talking in German.
It's another survival game.
What's this on? This looks sick.
It's on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC.
It's kind of like a indie Dead Space looking game.
It reminds me of the first Metal Gear.
Has a weird like anime take to it though too.
It's pretty cool.
Well, okay, this is Metal Gear. Did you see the HUD? It reminded me of Metal Gear. Then they just straight up ripped the HUD from Metal Gear.
Yeah, but it's not. There's no like monsters or anything. Metal Gear. It's like
So it's Metal Gear Monsters. Oh, that was very much Metal Gear. At
Okay.
first I was like,
Oh,
No,
hey,
no.
Trinity always pops up on here when I accidentally get late. What's up, Trinity? Sorry. Next up, everybody. If I get preoccupied and I'm late hitting the link, it goes on to the next thing. All right. So next up, everybody, we got Star Ocean: The Divine
Ocean.
Force, PS4, 5, Xbox One XS, PC. This one I'm actually interested in. I don't know if I'll have time to play with everything else, but I really love Star Ocean 4. I think 5 was one I skipped.
now is this one of those turn-based JRPGs
No.
where I'm gonna be okay?
It's not
I could actually
turn-based.
play this
this is
one.
one
Then.
of those turn-based games.
I could actually play this one then maybe.
Yeah, it's more action based. If at least that's the last Star Ocean I played was. The last Star Ocean game was fantastic. So good.
Is this sort of like that? What's that game called? It has like the dinosaurs.
Second Extinction?
No.
No, he's the game that was on 360. It was like a
Lost
it's
Planet?
made by Sega, I think. No, it's
Are you quite alright?
they just made it on Xbox One like 2 years ago. Fucking what? I know what you're thinking of. I just can't think of what it's called.
Can't remember that name.
Talking about Fantasy Star?
Yeah, Fantasy Star. That's it.
No.
No.
Damn near the full Federation fleet's moving in on us.
Fantasy Star is more of an MMO.
Say we're good. The Fed saw to it we aren't.
The crew of the
This is these games usually have like a beginning and ending story, like, you know.
Is it kind of like Monster Hunter?
No.
The closest thing I compare it to is like maybe a Tales of Vesperia type or Tales game, or like a Final Fantasy.
You know, this actually looks like a JRPG I could play.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is multiplayer, right?
No. The last ones weren't.
Oh,
This
so
all-
just can't.
3-bit's like, is this is this? No.
No.
unless this one is, not the other ones weren't. That I remember. Maybe they were.
Star
I only
Ocean
played them
was
single
online.
player. Star
I think
Ocean's
you're still thinking of Fantasy Star 3-bit.
You're thinking of
Oh, really?
Fantasy Star. You're thinking of Fantasy Star
Yeah.
Online.
I'm getting old.
I played the shit out of Fantasy Star back on the Dreamcast. I don't
Wow,
really
I think
like
it was on sale. I might buy that.
It's $60 is the price listed. What is it on sale for?
I don't know. I said if it goes on sale, I might buy it.
Yeah. You get into a JRPG, Jasper?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe you can review it here on the channel. Release your review at. It'd be cool if like because 3-bit you have a channel, Fuzzy you have a channel, Jasper you have a channel, Psycho has a channel. You could each like publish your own review on your channel. We could discuss the reviews here and give an aggregate review and fun speculation.
Yeah.
That would actually encourage me to make videos again.
Yeah.
Do it 3-bit. Review a game.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Finish Plague Tale tonight. Review it. Put out a video tomorrow.
Plague Tale is like great so far. If I were to review it right now, I'll give it like an 8.5.
Bayonetta 3. Oh, did y'all see like that voice actress like is pretty much just admitted to lying to everybody? And her
I didn't get paid 4,000. I got paid.
I got offered more than I made on my first game, which was 10,000 was what. So she was like said in her heartfelt speech to everybody that she was only offered 4,000, which
that
ended
really
up not being
off,
true.
Because it's like you had an opportunity, a platform for people who are underpaid in the industry to like really level them up, and then
what she ended up doing is never getting a job in video game voice acting again.
Well, she hasn't been working anyway in voice acting, so
yeah, she had an opportunity to use her platform, and then goodness,
she tried to use it to sabotage the game. Like it's just I don't know, fuck that.
And I'm not even saying like Platinum Games. I don't trust them either.
Yeah,
like I think
I agree.
they're freaking as heck. Like let's make that clear too. Like I think they're both being super shady. But
well, it's hard to trust them. Period, because they're
it's
past.
hard to trust. Yeah.
Give us your money so we can make other games. Oh, you want Scalebound?
I would
How about
probably
Nier
play
Automata
this if
for
it
someone
wasn't
else?
only on Nintendo.
No, the Bayonetta is fantastic. Such good combat. I finished Bayonetta 1. I didn't finish Bayonetta 2, but I played a lot of it.
I think I played like a demo of the second one.
Yeah, I played a demo of one of them. It was like you're on this platform and like you're falling down.
Yeah, I think it was like Wii or something. Wii U, something like that. I don't know.
Is that Wii? Oh. Was any of them on Xbox?
First one I think is. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's the one I played. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Pretty sure.
Launching on Nintendo Switch October 28th.
Yeah, Bayonetta 3, which also like is not a. It's come out when she said it's a $450 million franchise. Like the sales don't add up for that. Like people did the calculations. Here we go.
Money, weapons.
Jasper's mid game, my masterpiece. Call of Duty is launching on the 28th for everything but Switch.
I feel like Digital Foundry is going to look at Amsterdam as like their new thing for like graphic development.
We've got bigger problems.
We're not 141 and lost for KhAos. We're a team. I want to know how many they have and where they intend to use them. Y'all got a clear picture?
Jesse says Bayonetta's on 360.
Planning and preparation.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I think I have it in my storefront.
Ah, maybe that's how. Yeah, I think I played it a long time ago.
I think I played Bayonetta 2 on the Wii.
You're the commander of a foreign
That sound right?
I can say the same to you.
I never had a Wii.
Digitally pre-order Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and play the campaign up to a week early.
Multiplayer releases is going to be fire, everybody.
Yep, one of the best Call of Duties, except the campaign.
Pre-order to get that exclusive pack on the PlayStation.
Gotta look up when that releases because the whole fucking time thing they're doing is so complicated this year for that.
No, doesn't change anything.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we got
Saying I should get it on the PS.
Resident Evil Village coming to. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is Reverse. PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Yeah.
This is the multiplayer content coming to Village, right?
Mhm.
Or is it a standalone?
It's standalone on PC, and I think if you bought the deluxe edition of Village, it was included.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had like an open beta for a bit. So now those.
But I think it's also a separate download, so it's kind of
Right.
its own thing.
It's $30 if you buy it separately.
Yeah, I should have this.
Okay, included free with every. Damn it. Hold on.
Yeah, it's
Can't read the whole paragraph
like
in 1 second.
It's a free game if you bought the original game, but otherwise, like so far, I could only find pricing for PC.
Right. So if you wanted to play it and not buy Resident Evil Village, you can buy it for 30.
For 30.
Okay. I think. Anyway,
Yeah, it
I
says
think
every
so.
purchase of if you bought Village, you should be able to play this.
Yeah.
All right, Switch. Village is coming to Switch and Mac.
Was that the first time we had a Mac name on the fucking
$60.
Like,
Yeah, what the heck? That's rare.
Yeah. As a Mac owner as well, most games don't come to Mac.
yeah, no,
Like-
it's just weird. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you type Mac in that list before.
Like,
Is it coming to Mac via the cloud or natively?
No, it'll I'm pretty sure it'll be
It's
native on Mac.
yeah.
I mean, most people that have a Mac and want a game, they usually do dual boot anyway. So
Right on.
do they even have an icon for the Mac? Like, you know how they say Xbox Series X, PC.
Isn't it just the Apple logo?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it'll say like Mac OS with the Apple logo or something.
This game was terrifying.
With all these games coming to Switch via the cloud, why don't they just put xCloud on the Switch already?
Well, because they're selling these through their own storefront. They don't want the Xbox making money on a Switch. Resident Evil Village Winter's expansion as well.
Yeah, this is the one where you play as his daughter, right, or whatever, in first person or third person, whatever it is.
I think so.
This is on the 28th, $20.
Happy half birthday, Rose. I just
I
want
like
to
how
find my daughter.
Bill says it's coming to the Stadia on your list.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll always be there for you, no matter what.
Wait, it was supposed to come to Stadia. Now that Stadia is kind of like in lame duck territory. Yeah.
I think Stadia said there's no more new games hitting the storefront.
You are my precious Rose.
And I didn't care. So long as we were together.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. I love you.
Now the daughter must face her fears.
Sometimes when I feel lost or afraid, I try to imagine what he might have said to me.
No matter, your imminent demise is inevitable.
I love you, but I won't let anything happen to Rose.
She's going Super Saiyan.
Yeah. I don't know. This trailer seemed a lot more actiony than the last one I saw. Has me more interested. Resident Evil Village, I really, really liked. I did finish that game.
I will not allow you to leave this planet. That was Halo 5.
Yeah. What what is out of that list? What are y'all most looking forward to?
Call of Duty.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm ready playing Call of Duty. So probably I want to play Resident Evil in third person, but I don't want to pay for it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know.
Do you have like if you bought the gold edition of that or whatever, do you get that for free?
I'm gonna have to check. I remember buying it on sale, like some special edition. Maybe I do. I don't know. So if I have the gold edition, then
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I know you got some extra skins or something like that for the gold edition. I don't know if they include the expansion. I was under the impression originally it included the expansion, but I can't find it in the listing for any of the expansion verbiage now on PlayStation or Xbox. So
yeah, I mean it makes sense to charge for the expansion, like for sure, but charging for like changing the camera is kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. There were a lot of different games. It was the RT game. There was the Metal Gear game that looked super interesting.
Signalis.
Bayonetta 3. I mean, any Switch game, I'm just gonna gloss over because like I'm not. It will take me a lot to like play a game on the Switch. Like if it's a party game, if I want to play it with friends or something like that. Like most of the games I have on Switch revolve around me playing it around my friends, like a Smash Bros, Mario Party. I used to play golf a lot with like Lady and stuff, so like that was another game. But for the most part, I'm not actively searching out to get like a 480p experience. So like I'm probably not gonna get Bayonetta 3, but props to the people who do. I'm sure it's gonna be an amazing game. I don't know. It's just not the console for me. But
wait, this shit comes out next week and they're just now having this voice actor debate? Like
yeah. Well, she was saying they went radio silent for such a long period of time. So she figured this would be the perfect time to get people to boycott it, or at least put that message out there.
Well, everybody, it's been real. We got games to play, we got stuff to do, food to eat, and all those things. Appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys rock. Thanks always for everything and hanging out here on Fun Speculation. If you like the shows, if you like the content we provide, hit that like button, share, and sub to the channel. It greatly helps people discover us. And even if you don't like Jasper's bad takes on reviews and all these things, it's okay. It's just an opinion. I'm just kidding. Jasper, shout out to you, man. Where can everybody find you, bro?
You can find me this week on YouTube at Lore Master Jasper. I will be streaming the worst Call of Duty, apparently, from my opinion. When the multiplayer drops, I will be playing that like all day pretty much. So check that out. And Lore Jasper on Twitter. And FSP is Monday night at 10 o'clock Eastern. And Xbox Ultimate is Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Fun Speculation channel.
I'm excited to see all your sweaty clips. You're going to be flooding the internet like crazy. The amazingly talented 3-Bit. Where can everybody find you, bro?
Everyone can find me on Twitter at i3bits. Work is finally dying down, so I'm able to play some games. It's a miracle. Been working a lot of commercials for Aflac and stuff. We're preparing for next year, and work on Fable has subsided, so no more work on Fable for me. My job is done, but for the most part, You guys could find me on this channel, just chilling with Mav sometimes, and on FSP. So I'll see you guys on the next show.
Right on, man. I appreciate you as always. And the always fuzzy one, Fuzzy Belvedere, who had a voice for the first 30 minutes of today's show. Appreciate that. Where can everybody find you?
It was just awesome being on here with you guys. And man, thanks to everybody that joined us in the chat and those that will catch us on replay later. For those that want to hear my endless rambling on anything gaming, just follow me on Twitter, Fuzzy_Belvedere. Catch me here on Xbox Ultimate on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here with the family. And then on Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Shop Podcast on PTK Blam's channel. And then next Monday on the Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Double Barrel Gaming. And then right back here on FSP at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. Look forward to seeing you then.
Right on, man. Thanks, Fuzzy. And everybody in the chat again, appreciate you. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Bye, guys.